my own space station. Hello again, dear adventurers of the multiverse. Thanks for joining us once more on this epic journey. Remember, this story is pure science fiction from our wild imagination, so don't go trying to summon dragons in your backyard. The rights of this amazing novel belong entirely to its original author. We are only the narrators. Do you want more adventures? Show some love to our YouTube channel with a subscription and a like, and if you want exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting for you with open arms. Chapter 201 Sectional Construction. The speed of viral mutation is extremely fast. Once it spreads, it is very likely to bring disastrous consequences. This risk is absolutely not to be taken, but in reality, he was overthinking it. Although viruses mutate quickly, their biological nature leads them to tend towards symbiosis, that is to say, after a virus finds a host, it does not want it to die, because this is a lose-lose situation. In fact, the evolutionary path of viruses is constantly tending towards high transmissibility and low lethality. It's just that the evolutionary process of viruses is not gentle, often accompanied by the death of a large number of lives. But regardless, gene coding technology does embody its anti-biological side. This has transcended the scientific level and is more of a constraint from ethics and morality. Okay, Commander, Xiaolin replied. 3 days later, July 6, 2055 AD, Yan Xiangping's troop deployment plan submitted to the military and political department has been successfully approved. He casually made up a reason to merge the 220,000 troops from 12 military regions into 6 military regions. After Dongfang Chen received the news, he ordered Dai Zhang to lead the special operations team members to the southwest military region to implement the construction of underground defense works. When installing the ultrasonic transmitter before, miniature queen bees had already been placed in each military sub-district. It's just that the miniature queen bees have hardly developed in each military sub-district, because it is difficult for a zombie to appear within the troops. Yan Xiangping currently has a stockpile of 1 million crystal cores. The actual construction cost of the 6 military sub-districts requires 3 million crystal cores, leaving a shortage of 2 million crystal cores. So Dongfang Chen proposed a plan to Yan Xiangping to raise rats to earn crystal cores. These days, Yan Xiangping did nothing but send people everywhere to dig holes and find rats. They also set up many rat traps in the military area, with food placed inside. The door of the cage is one way, and once the rat enters the cage, it can never get out. Many hands make light work. Within 3 days, the soldiers in each military region rummaged through boxes and cabinets and actually caught about 10,000 healthy rats. They started breeding and reproduction work according to the rat breeding method provided by Dongfang Chen. In this regard, the soldiers in each military sub-district have a lot of opinions. Everyone doesn't understand why they should spend energy on raising rats. It's simply unheard of and unseen. However, Yan Xiangping completely ignored it. The main reason why Dongfang Chen sent Dai Zhang to lead the special operations team members to the southwest military region was for confidentiality. The matter of the queen bee is not suitable for anyone to know. Therefore, his own people need to handle the crystal cores, so that no one knows where the crystal cores went. After Dai Zhang went to the southwest military region, he first went to find Yan Fangfang. Yan Fangfang had already prepared 1 million crystal cores. Dai Zhang took over these crystal cores and transported them onto the plane. The special operations team members divided the crystal cores into 6 groups on the plane, and then packed and sealed them separately. Subsequently, these boxes filled with crystal cores were transported to 6 military sub-districts, including the headquarters. It was not until about 10 o'clock in the evening that all the crystal cores were transported. After Dai Zhang completed this task, he returned to Binjiang base. Dongfang Chen asked Xiaolin to issue instructions to the miniature queen bees in the 6 military regions, and soon all the placed crystal cores were transferred. Early the next morning, the underground defense works in the military sub-district began to quietly break ground. The reason why it is said to be quiet is because the queen bee's construction of underground works is completely silent, and no construction traces can be seen from the ground at all. In order to maximize efficiency, the underground defense works are designed as a 5-section structure for construction. Once a section is completed, it can be activated. It can be understood that the entire underground space is divided into 5 parts, and each part is built one by one. This is because 1 million crystal cores are not enough to complete the entire project, and there is still a shortage of 2 million crystal cores. At the same time, the supporting water circulation system, air circulation system, and power system must be built first. But the soldiers can't wait too long, and the risk factor is relatively high. Completing part of the project first, at least so that everyone can have a place to hide first, is very important. If we wait until 3 million crystal cores are collected before starting construction, I don't know how many soldiers will be sacrificed for no reason. This is unacceptable to Yan Zhangping. After the crystal cores were handed over, Yan Zhangping had been anxiously waiting in the office for Dongfang Chen to send someone over, but until the next day, he didn't wait for anyone, nor did he wait for any news. Fang, what the hell is Xia Chen doing? The crystal cores were taken away yesterday. Why hasn't he sent anyone to construct after such a long time? Yan Zhangping asked. Dad, don't worry, hasn't it only been half a day? Besides, equipment has already entered the site last night, maybe someone will come in a while. Yan Fangfang comforted. The equipment entering the site she was referring to was actually the packaged crystal cores. Yan Fangfang didn't know the specific situation either. She sent a message to Dongfang Chen, but she hadn't received a reply yet. Yan Zhangping was so anxious that he couldn't wait to build the base immediately. But Dongfang Chen at this time was still lying on the big bed in the base, snoring loudly. He doesn't have the habit of getting up early. Chapter 202 Cyborg Laboratory. It wasn't until after 10 a.m. the next day that Dongfang Chen finished breakfast and arrived at the office. Commander, Fang He sent a message asking when they can start work. Xiaolin reported, what's the progress on the Southwest Military Regions project? Dongfang Chen asked. The Queen Bee is manufacturing bee ant robots, and the geothermal power station has already begun construction. Xiaolin replied. How long will it take to complete the first phase of the project? Dongfang Chen asked. It's expected to take 2 weeks. Xiaolin replied. Can we transport the bee ant robots from our main base to speed up the construction progress? Dongfang Chen asked. I'm sorry, Commander. The supercomputing center cannot directly control the bee ant robots, it can only send instructions to the queen bee level. Moreover, bee ant robots manufactured by different queen bees cannot transfer control to each other. Therefore, even if we transport the bee ant robots there, the queen bee will not be able to control them. Xiaolin said. Can multiple queen bees work together? Dongfang Chen asked. Yes, Xiaolin replied. Then calculate how many queen bees are needed to complete the project within 3 days. Dongfang Chen said. 1,000. Xiaolin quickly gave the answer. That many? What about 4 days? 300. Why could reducing the construction period from 3 days to 4 days reduce the number of queen bee robots by 700? That's because each additional day allows for the production of many more bee ant robots, which sharply reduces the demand for queen bees. What about 5 days? 100. Okay, then immediately produce 600 miniature queen bees. After they are produced, I will have Daizhang take them to the various military sub-districts. At the same time, send a message to Yan Fangfang, telling her that the project has been launched and that the first phase of underground construction will be completed within a week. Dongfang Chen said. Yes, Commander. Northwest Military Region, Ganlin Province, Gold City. Inside the city, in the underground parking lot of an office building. Master, this is my modified human laboratory, and it has already achieved very good results, Ling Luo said to the bearded man in the wheelchair as he walked. Ling Luo transformed this underground parking lot into a biochemical laboratory. Not bad. It seems that sending you to do scientific research was a very correct decision, the bearded man said with a satisfied nod and smile. Looking at the magnificent underground laboratory, this underground parking lot has been divided into glass compartments, and many people in white coats are currently busy doing various experiments. Where did you get these people from? The bearded man asked. He was a complete layman when it came to scientific research. Now, as long as you have money, is there anyone you can't find? Ling Luo said with a smile. The bearded man nodded. Master, would you like to try it? Ling Luo said with a mysterious smile. The bearded man was stunned for a moment, then retorted. Ling Luo, I'm crippled now. Are you willing to let me be a sparring partner for your modified humans? Master is a tier 3 mutant. This is a rare opportunity, Ling Luo said with a smile. Okay, then let's try it. The bearded man didn't refuse when he came to Huaguo. The elder also arranged a task for him, which was to investigate the results of the modified human experiment. However, he was accidentally injured in Mazhao, which affected the task to some extent. Inside a testing room surrounded by iron fences, the bearded man sat in a wheelchair, facing a modified human chained with iron chains. Master, be careful, Ling Luo said with a smile. The bearded man nodded. Ling Luo pressed the remote control, and the fixed lock on the iron chain was opened. The modified human, regaining his freedom, instantly became violent. His eyes were bloodshot, and his face was covered with blood vessels. The muscles on his shoulders, arms, and thighs bulged high, making him look exceptionally strong. Roar! With a roar, The modified human quickly rushed towards the bearded man. Although the bearded man's legs were crippled, his power was still there. With 2 fingers, he flicked, and the iron chain behind the modified human flew towards the modified human like a snake. In an instant, the iron chain had wrapped around the modified human's feet. The modified human was still running when suddenly his feet were caught, and he stumbled forward, falling flat on his face. The modified human became even more violent. He stood up and tried to break free from the chains, but he couldn't. The bearded man pointed forward with 2 fingers, then quickly hooked back, and another iron chain quickly strangled the modified human's neck. The iron chain wrapped around his neck several times. The modified human grabbed the iron chain with both hands, trying to break free, but he couldn't. The bearded man swiped his finger to the left, and the iron chain twisted to the left. The modified human was directly hooked away by the iron chain and crashed into the left fence. Then, the bearded man swiped his finger to the right, and the modified human crashed into the right fence again. He stretched his finger forward, and the modified human was hooked back and crashed into the back fence. Ling Luo watched closely outside the fence. This modified human was the most successful one in the laboratory so far, but facing a Tier 3 mutant like the bearded man, he had no power to fight back. Gradually, his eyes narrowed into a line. Coupled with those gold-rimmed glasses, it gave people an extremely sinister feeling. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203: How to Raise Mice. The 5 minutes turned into a complete solo show for the bearded man. The modified human was already tightly bound, struggling in vain. Clap, clap, clap. Ling Luo, who was observing from outside, applauded. Master, in your presence, my modified human has absolutely no ability to fight back. Ling Luo said, that's because I have the advantage of a higher realm. If we were both at Tier 1, I wouldn't necessarily be a match for this modified human. The bearded man said, Master is definitely the most powerful. Ling Luo said, flattering him, you just know how to butter me up. The bearded man pointed at Ling Luo and laughed, but it was clear that he was enjoying it. Master, I'll take you to your residence to rest, Ling Luo said, changing the subject. After receiving Dongfang Chen's reply, Yan Zhangping felt much more at ease. He could grate his teeth and persevere through the 1-week construction period, so he focused his energy back on the matter of breeding rats from conception to birth. Rats take about 3 months. The young rats mature and can reproduce at around 3 months old. Each breeding can produce 4-8 offspring. The lifespan of a rat is generally only 1 year. Dongfang Chen provided Yan Zhangping with a simple and crude breeding method, including a schematic diagram for building the breeding cages. The breeding cage is divided into upper and lower layers, separated by a fence with gaps of about 2.5 centimeters. The fence is very thin and coated with lubricating oil. The upper layer has an independent area at the edge, covered with a layer of hay, serving as the nursing area. In the middle is a large plate, serving as the feeding area. The nursing area and the feeding area are completely connected by the fence. If the rats want to get from the nursing area to the feeding area, they must climb over the fence. The soldiers responsible for feeding will place the food on the feeding area each time. Larger rats will successfully pass through the fence to reach the feeding area and eat the food. The pups, because of their small size and lack of agility, will fall through the gaps in the fence to the lower breeding cage when passing through the fence. This roughly separates the rats into juveniles and adults. In the middle of the upper and lower layers, there are several climbing poles. The pups in the lower layer, after growing to a certain extent, will be able to return to the upper layer by climbing the poles. In this way, without human intervention, the natural separation of juvenile and adult rats can be achieved by controlling the food supply. The purpose of doing this is to ensure that the rats can continuously reproduce offspring. Because rats are very fertile, the number of rats in the same breeding cage will at least quadruple every period of time. To ensure the stability of the rat population, it is time to harvest. The upper breeding cage has a door that can be opened and closed independently every month. The door will be opened once, releasing a portion of the adult rats to the isolation cage. There are several zombie rats in the isolation cage under the attack of the zombie rats. These rats will soon be completely infected after 15 days. These infected zombie rats will have basically synthesized crystal cores. Subsequently, these isolation cages will be transported to the designated slaughter area. Yan Zhangping doesn't need to worry about the subsequent work. In 10 minutes, all the rats in these isolation cages will be turned into crystal cores. However, The queen bee will deduct 1/10 of these crystal cores as a fee for decomposing the rats. With this entire system in place, Yan Zhangping's side only needs to do a few things. 1. Mass produce such breeding cages. 2. Use the rats bred in the early stage as breeding stock to breed more rats. 3. Have soldiers specifically responsible for feeding. 4. Regularly arrange for soldiers to transport the isolation cages to the isolation area to prevent the zombie rats from escaping. A slaughterhouse is set up in each military district that breeds rats. In this way, the rats will not leave the breeding area throughout the entire process from breeding to slaughter. Establishing a slaughterhouse is just a formality. The purpose is to prevent people from wondering about the disappearance process of the rats. The requirements for the slaughterhouse are also very low, as long as there is a completely enclosed factory building. The soldiers transporting the isolation cages only need to drive the truck into the slaughterhouse, then go out and close the door tightly. The queen bee can handle the rest on her own. Yan Zhangping would send people to Huituang Chamber of Commerce every once in a while to bring the remaining food waste from food production back to the southwest military region. In this way, the entire closed loop of breeding rats to obtain crystal cores is completely opened up. As long as there are enough breeding cages, the number of crystal cores that can be obtained is still very considerable. To make the rats more excited and accelerate their reproduction, Yan Zhangping also specifically had an appropriate amount of aphrodisiac added to the adult rat's food. This can also be regarded as using any means to obtain crystal cores. Therefore, under Yan Zhangping's forced demands, the 6 military regions after the merger successfully became 6 large-scale breeding bases. The soldiers didn't understand at first, but then they saw a constant stream of crystal cores being pulled out of the breeding areas, and everyone knew what was going on. From then on, the dejected expressions on the soldiers' faces disappeared, replaced by a spirit of full energy and high morale. Breeding rats isn't being irresponsible at all. It's clearly the most important job right now. The more rats, the more crystal cores, and the more crystal cores, the more equipment. No, can't rest, continue welding cages. These were the soldiers' true thoughts. Chapter 204, Ants All Over the Mountains. Southwest Military Region, Hanzhuang Province, Jingmen City. It is now summer, and the weather is hot at this time. The temperature in Hanzhuang has reached above 39 degrees Celsius. Jingmen is located in the middle reaches of the Yangtze River and is an important transportation hub in central China. The crisscrossing rivers and lakes make this inland city's climate very humid. Changjing County is located on the south bank of the Yangtze River in the eastern part of Jingmen City and has always been an important distribution center for materials after the virus outbreak. The Jingmen City temporary headquarters also established a shelter here, Changjing Shelter, July 16, 2055, 2:35 p.m. The security guards at the shelter were routinely patrolling the city walls. This time of day is the hottest. After patrolling the city walls for a week, the guards gathered in the shade of the corner tower to escape the heat. Ugh! This weather is killing me. At this moment, if I could have a bottle of ice-cold beer, that would be awesome, one of the guards said, sitting on the ground by the wall, and a plate of peanuts and 2 ounces of pork head meat to go with it. Someone chimed in, we can't even imagine that. It's been a year, and I've long forgotten what meat tastes like, the guard replied, but he suddenly felt something was wrong halfway through his sentence. He saw the other soldiers next to him covering their mouths and snickering. The guard quickly stood up and looked back, only to find that the captain had arrived. Captain, the guard straightened his back and called out awkwardly, lazing around during duty, what's with you all gathering here? Get back to patrolling, the captain said with a stern face. Yes, the guards quickly straightened their clothes, organized their ranks, and prepared to patrol. Captain, situation. A guard glanced at the outside of the city and noticed something was wrong. Hearing the shout, the captain quickly walked to the edge of the city wall and looked outside. Due to the lack of clearing, the hillsides and ground outside the city were already covered with weeds and tall bushes. At this time, looking into the distance, the vegetation was disappearing at a rate visible to the naked eye, replaced by a boundless, dark brown color covering the entire ground too far away to see clearly. The captain hurriedly took out his binoculars to observe. Hiss! At this sight, the captain sucked in a breath of cold air. Sound the alarm, the captain shouted without a word. A guard quickly ran towards the duty due to the lack of electricity. In order to achieve a rapid response, the city walls of the shelter were equipped with security alarms. The security alarm consisted of a set of loudspeakers, a control panel, an alarm switch, a storage battery, and a solar panel. Woo-woo! As the guard pressed the alarm, a loud siren rang out within the shelter. Everyone came out of their houses and looked towards the city walls, but unfortunately, They couldn't see anything. No one knew what was happening. Most people thought it was just the alarm malfunctioning. Because everyone knew that it was daytime and relatively safe. However, the siren did not disappear, but continued to sound one after another. Make way, everyone, make way. Before long, a security guard ran wildly along the main road in the city, shouting loudly as he ran. Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help but feel nervous. Could something really have happened? It shouldn't be. Zombies don't come out during the day, the people discussed privately. Report. Abnormal situation found outside the city. The guard ran into the command post and shouted loudly, "What happened?" Team leader Fan from the command post strode over and asked, "Team leader Fan, outside the city, there are so many bugs outside the city," the guard said, wiping his sweat and panting heavily. "What bugs?" Team leader Fan breathed a sigh of relief when he heard it was bugs. "Just bugs. What's the big deal? They look like ants." The guard repeated the captain's judgment. "Bullshit. Just ants. Why are you so scared?" "You scared me." Team leader Fan became angry and slapped the guard on the head. "No, Team leader Fan, you should go and take a look. They're all over the mountains and fields. It's terrifying," the guard said aggrievedly. "Let's go. Go and take a look." Team leader Fan pushed out a bicycle and rode towards the city gate. Because gasoline was scarce, and they used a little less, they rarely used cars. 15 minutes later, Team leader Fan finally climbed the city wall. The captain hurried over to greet him. Team leader Fan ignored him, walked straight to the edge of the city wall, and looked outside too far away to see clearly. Team leader Fan reached out and snatched the binoculars from the captain's hand and looked outside. His team leader Fan also gasped. Sure enough, the mountains and fields were full of ants. They were called ants because they looked like them. But it didn't feel like ants, because some of the larger ones looked like they could rival the size of a car. The smaller ones were too far away to see clearly. You could only see patches of dark brown. "How long have they been discovered?" Team leader Fan asked. "More than half an hour. We quickly sounded the alarm as soon as we discovered them," the captain replied. Team leader Fan nodded. He looked at his watch. It was now 16:20, which was almost half an hour since he heard the alarm. Chapter 205 Big Tooth Dent. "How far have these ants advanced in half an hour?" Team leader Fan asked. "Not far. I've been observing them. They advance a certain distance and then stop," the captain replied. Team leader Fan nodded and continued. "Take this satellite phone for now and report any situation promptly. If anything happens, I'll also call this number, so be sure to answer." Team leader Fan handed over a heavy, old-fashioned satellite phone with an antenna. "Yes, sir." The captain respectfully took the phone after giving the instructions. Team leader Fan hurried back. "Mayor Su, I have an important situation to report," Team leader Fan said to Su Shongshan, the mayor of Jingmen City, through the office phone. "Go ahead," Mayor Su said. "It's like this. We just discovered a large number of giant ants outside the city, approaching the resettlement area." Team leader Fan said. "Giant ants? How many?" Mayor Su asked. "They cover the mountains and plains, an endless expanse," Team leader Fan replied. Silence fell on the other end of the phone. Half a minute later. "I'll be right over," Mayor Su said. Mayor Su was at the Beisha resettlement area in Jiangbei, facing the Changjing resettlement area across the river. A cross-river bridge, the Changjing Bridge, spanned a river between the two resettlement areas. It was about a half-hour drive for Mayor Su to get here from the Beisha resettlement area. An hour later, Mayor Su stood on the city wall on the south side of the Changjing resettlement area. During this hour, the ants had not moved forward. "They haven't moved at all?" Mayor Su asked. "That's right. They've been staying there for over an hour," the captain reported. Mayor Su frowned. He didn't know what these ants were up to or whether they would attack the resettlement area. "Do you have any biology experts here?" Mayor Su asked. "The medical team should have some," Team leader Fan replied. "Go find a few and bring them over," Mayor Su instructed. "Okay. I'll go right away." Team leader Fan turned and left. Another half hour passed. Team leader Fan returned to the city wall with 3 people. "Mayor Su, I've brought the people," Team leader Fan said. "Doctors, don't be nervous. I've called you here today because I have something I'd like to hear your opinions on. Take a look first," Mayor Su said politely, handing the binoculars to one of the doctors. The doctor took the binoculars and looked in the direction Mayor Su pointed. The scene before his eyes startled him. The doctors next to him took the binoculars and looked one by one. The expressions on their faces showed that the situation was not optimistic. "Doctors, my question is, are these ants dangerous?" Mayor Su asked. The doctors looked at each other, unsure how to answer. "Don't be nervous," Just say what you think, Mayor Su encouraged, but it was clear he was anxious. Mayor Su, judging from the appearance of the ants, they look very much like a common ant here, the Odontomochus. The most typical characteristic of this ant is its wide mandibles. It's just that, one doctor stammered. Just that what? Mayor Su asked anxiously. It's just that these ants are usually very small, generally only a few millimeters to a dozen millimeters in size. Unlike these ants, the small ones are several centimeters, and the large ones are probably 1 or 2 meters long. We've never seen such large ants, the doctor said. Then, are these ants aggressive? Mayor Su asked. Mayor Su, you can tell from those wide mandibles. Their huge jaws have a very strong bite force and bite very quickly. Normally, although these ants are aggressive, they basically don't pose any harm to humans. But now, we're not sure. After all, this size is just too big, another doctor said. Then why are they stopping there and not moving? Mayor Su asked. He didn't care about the characteristics of the ants. He was concerned about whether these ants would suddenly attack the resettlement area. That's simple. Look at the ground in the distance, it's basically turned yellowish-brown. That means all the vegetation has been eaten. Now they're probably full and preparing to build a nest there, a younger doctor replied. Build a nest? Mayor Su suddenly felt a chill down his spine. This wouldn't do. If these ants were allowed to build a nest there, the resettlement area would never have a peaceful day again. Mayor Su, there's one more thing you need to be aware of, the first doctor who answered added. What? Mayor Su asked. Some of these ants have wings, the doctor said a little uncertainly. He didn't know if saying this would be adding fuel to the fire. Hearing the words have wings, Mayor Su instantly felt dizzy. This was the first time he had felt such deep fear towards winged insects. If these ants attack the resettlement area, is there any way to resist them? Mayor Su asked the last question. This, Alice, the three doctors thought while shaking their heads, their brows furrowed into a deep line. Chapter 206, Team Leader Fan's Suggestions. Mayor Su, I have an idea, but I don't know if it's feasible, a doctor said. Tell me quickly. Mayor Su saw a glimmer of hope. We can set up an isolation zone of about 10 meters on the outside of the wall, the doctor replied. How to set it up? Mayor Su asked. Remove all the weeds and shrubs nearby and spread them on the ground. Then mix in some dry wood, plastic, and rubber, and pour gasoline on top and ignite it. Extinguish it with water when it's halfway burned. This way, the remnants that are not completely burned will emit a strong odor. As long as the distance is wide enough, it should provide some protection, the doctor explained. After hearing this, Mayor Su began to think carefully. There were several difficulties. First, mobilizing the masses to clear weeds outside the city is risky. If ants attack at this time, the workers may be in danger. Second, there is no ready-made supply of things like plastic and rubber. We can only collect them from house to house. How much we can collect in the end is still unknown. Third, the gasoline reserves are limited. If we want to build a 10-meter wide isolation zone on the south side of the city wall, the amount of gasoline needed will not be small. The inventory in the resettlement area may have to be used up all at once. If this method doesn't work, the days ahead will be even harder. How confident are you? Mayor Su asked. This. Mayor Su, to be honest, I'm not confident, the doctor said somewhat awkwardly. Hearing this, Mayor Su's heart immediately sank. If there's no confidence, the risk is not worth taking. Mayor Su, I have a suggestion, Team Leader Fan said. Oh? Tell me. Mayor Su looked at Team Leader Fan. I think the safest method is to retreat to the north of the Yangtze River and then arrange for people to defend the Changjing Bridge. Defending a city is too long a battle line and consumes too much, but defending a bridge shortens the battle line significantly. Team Leader Fan said. Mayor Su's eyes lit up upon hearing this suggestion. This method is good. Okay. Time is of the essence. Go and make arrangements now. Mobilize everyone to transfer through the north gate towards the Changjing Bridge. I'll go back to Jiangbei now and arrange a new resettlement area for you. Mayor Su instructed. There are many industrial parks in Jiangbei, all of which have been abandoned. Therefore, finding a suitable location to set up a new resettlement area is not too difficult. Okay. Team Leader Fan accepted the order and left in a hurry. It is now 1810. In this season, the sun sets in the Hansong area around 2040. There are only 2.5 hours of safe time left for outdoor activities. Once the sun sets, the zombies will come out, and if the transfer is not completed by then, the risk factor will greatly increase. Mayor Su was struggling with whether to wait one night. The current situation is that sticking your head out might get you killed, and hiding your head might also get you killed. It's a dilemma, but thinking about it the other way, this area belongs to the suburbs of Jingmen City, with a low population density, and the possibility of encountering zombies is not high. But if we stay here, once the ants attack the city, it will definitely be a dead end. Weighing the options, retreating to Jiangbei is more proactive and safer, so Mayor Su stopped hesitating and quickly headed towards Jiangbei. Today is a race against time. The Beixia resettlement area where Mayor Su is located is also one of the first 20 resettlement areas to cooperate with the Huatung Chamber of Commerce. 3 days ago, Chu Hangping had arranged for 5 holy envoys to come to Jingmen City. Also coming were 5 Tier 3 zombies controlled by the holy envoys. These 5 Tier 3 zombies were newly controlled through the heavily modified spirit summoning technique to improve efficiency. Holy envoys without Tier 3 zombies were all unified in Mazhao to complete the spirit summoning technique. Then, Chu Hangping arranged for planes to transport them to the cities where the 20 cooperating resettlement areas were located. For the past 3 days, these 5 holy envoys have been searching for and gathering low-level zombies in the urban area of Jingmen City. However, there are not many zombies left in Jingmen City. This is because Pingjiawan, 50 kilometers west of Jingmen City, has a military sub-district of the Southwest Military Region, the Jingmen Military Sub-District. In the past few months, they have carried out many hunting missions in Jingmen, killing most of the zombies. Of course, after all, Jingmen City was also a mega city in the past, with a population of over 20 million. Even if most of the zombies have been eliminated, it is still possible to gather tens of thousands of zombies with a little effort. By last night, the 5 holy envoys had almost gathered about 10,000 zombies each, planning to launch a feigned attack on the Beixia resettlement area tonight. This night will be a headache for Mayor Su. At around 6 o'clock in the afternoon, the north gate of the Changjing resettlement area on the south bank of the Yangtze River was wide open, and the people, carrying large and small bags, poured out of the city and ran towards the Changjing Bridge. Looking from a distance, the crowd had formed a twisting dragon, winding north along the main road. Guardian, I have a situation to report. A holy envoy contacted Chu Hangping through the second-generation bone microphone. Since joining the Red Lotus sect, these holy envoys have also undergone a significant upgrade in equipment. Chapter 207, The Red Lotus Cult joins in the fun. Although they were still wearing the red-clothed cult's cloaks, they had already put on protective suits, equipped with digital eye implants and second-generation bone microphones. Previously, when they went out on missions, they had no way to contact their superiors. They could only transmit information via telegram after returning to their base. Now, that was no longer necessary. They could make calls and video calls anytime, anywhere. It was simply too convenient. Speak, Chu Hangping replied. Chu Hangping had never given these holy envoys a good look. If it weren't for the needs of the plan, he really couldn't be bothered to manage these people, not to mention that these people had a lot of lives on their hands. Their fickle character alone made Chu Hangping completely uninterested. Moreover, if he was too polite to them, it might make them think they were important, and it would be difficult to manage them. It's like this, Protector Chu, the Changjing settlement in Jingmen City suddenly opened its gates wide, and the people are pouring out of the city, presumably wanting to cross the Changjing Bridge and move towards Jiangbei. The holy envoy said, the Changjing settlement is not within our sphere of concern. Just follow the plan and harass the Beixia settlement. Ignore the rest, Chu Hangping said, but the Beixia settlement is in Jiangbei. I'm worried that this will cause some trouble, the holy envoy said. Chu Hangping was silent for a moment, then instructed, go and investigate what happened at the Changjing settlement. Okay, the holy envoy readily agreed. He was very happy to be assigned a task by the protector. In these times, it was hard to get by if you were worthless. Now that the sequelae of being a holy envoy had been cured, they could completely disguise themselves as ordinary citizens and mingle in the crowd to gather information. An hour later, Protector Chu, I found out what happened. Something did happen at the Changjing settlement, the holy envoy reported. What happened? Chu Hangping asked. It's like this. This afternoon, a large number of giant ants appeared on the south side of the Changjing settlement. I went to check it out, and it's true. The ants are a few centimeters long, and the large ones are 1 or 2 meters long. They are all over the mountains and plains, as far as the eye can see. The person in charge of the Changjing settlement was worried that these ants would attack the city, so he led the people to evacuate to Jiangbei urgently. The holy envoy said, okay, I understand. You guys should act according to the circumstances when carrying out a harassment plan, and try to stay away from the people to avoid causing riots. Chu Hangping said, okay, The holy envoy responded. Chu Xiangping quickly reported this information to Dongfang Chen. Dongfang Chen could view the distribution of settlements nationwide through the miniature queen bee distribution map on the screen. This was because each settlement had a miniature queen bee pre-buried under the guise of deploying ultrasonic transmitters. Looking at the distribution map, the Changjing settlement was already the southernmost settlement in the Hansong area. Except for Yan Xiangping's headquarters in the southwest direction, there were no other settlements. The area south of the Yangtze River had basically become a no-man's land. Dongfang Chen guessed that the giant ants, like the giant cockroaches, were mutated insects. The temperature in the south was high, and the climate was humid, which was very conducive to the breeding of these insects. In order to obtain more living space, they would definitely continue to migrate north. The decision of the Changjing settlement was undoubtedly correct. Instead of holding on to their position, they might as well retreat to Jiangbei and form a natural defense line with the Yangtze River as a natural barrier. As long as these giant insects did not cross the Yangtze River, the vast settlements in the Jiangbei area could be temporarily safe in the short term. In other words, guarding the Yangtze River line meant guarding the living space of all Chinese people. However, it would definitely be difficult to defend this line with the strength of 1 or 2 settlements alone. This defense war was not just a matter for the settlements along the Yangtze River, but a matter for all Chinese people. It seems that we need to add fuel to the fire when necessary. Dongfang Chen pondered. The person in charge of the Beixia settlement would definitely report this matter to his superiors. However, he guessed that the news would probably only spread to Yan Xiangping's southwest military region. Since there had been no major chaos yet, Yan Xiangping would not report this matter to the council. Then this fire had to be lit at this time. Sure enough, after Mayor Su returned to the Beixia settlement, he quickly did 2 things. The first thing was to send people to find new settlements for the people of the Changjing settlement nearby. The second thing was to report this situation to the southwest military region. After receiving the news, Yan Xiangping, as Dongfang Chen had guessed, ignored it. He was single-mindedly focused on raising rats. His mind was now full of getting crystal cores, and he ignored everything else. Why was this? That was because his soldiers were still exposed to the threat of zombie bats, which made him feel uneasy. Besides, those mutated ants were not zombies and did not produce crystal cores. Eliminating those ants would consume a lot of weapons and ammunition, which was a losing business, so he didn't want to get involved even more. After receiving Yan Xiangping's 8-character reply of "No troops will be sent, solve it yourself," Mayor Su's heart turned cold. Without the help of the army, it would be extremely difficult for them to defend the Changjing Bridge. Chapter 208. Everyone must contribute. How can we defend without weapons? Are we supposed to engage in hand-to-hand combat with ants? That's just throwing ourselves into the tiger's mouth. The only weapons he can mass-produce are rocks and wooden sticks, which are ridiculous for dealing with ants. Weapons? Mayor Su's eyes lit up at this thought. He doesn't have weapons, but someone else does. That is the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce. So he quickly took out his phone and called Gu Qingyi, Niu Xingwang's secretary. When they attended the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce celebration and signed the cooperation agreement, the phone numbers provided could only reach the secretary. Gu Qingyi is only responsible for recording and relaying information, and does not make any decisions. Soon, the news reached Niu Xingwang. Niu Xingwang had just finished talking to Dongfang Chen on the phone. Dongfang Chen's idea was that this matter must put pressure on the military, especially the southwest military region and the southeast military region. Because the Yangtze River line is now completely within the sphere of influence of these 2 military regions. The reason is simple: everyone must contribute. If the Yangtze River line is occupied by these mutated insects, then everyone north of the river will become food for the insects. After all, fighting mutated insects is a war of attrition, and there are no crystal cores to be earned. Dongfang Chen wouldn't be foolish enough to take on the responsibility like he did with the zombie rat incident last time. After receiving Dongfang Chen's instructions, Niu Xingwang contacted Yan Xiangping immediately. "Boss Niu, is there anything I can help you with?" Yan Xiangping asked. "Commander Yan, the Beixia resettlement in Jingmen City just called our Chamber of Commerce, preparing to rent a batch of weapons and equipment. I'm calling you to inquire about whether something happened in Hanzhong." Niu Xingwang said he couldn't directly order Yan Xiangping to do anything, because he didn't have the authority. All he could do was indirectly reveal the danger of the ants breaking through the Yangtze River line, so that Yan Xiangping would take it seriously. "Oh, you can decide on this matter yourselves. This is an internal matter of the resettlement, and we will not interfere." As for the Hanzhong area, something did happen. The Changjing resettlement in Jingmen City encountered giant ants. "I guess they want to rent equipment to eliminate these ants," Yan Xiangping replied. "What? Giant ants?" Niu Xingwang said. Feigning surprise, Yan Xiangping was stunned. Why was he reacting so strongly? What do you mean by that? Yan Xiangping asked. A big deal. Commander Yan, are you interested in cooperating? Niu Xingwang asked excitedly. What big deal? Yan Xiangping asked. Think about it, if the giant ants successfully break through the Yangtze River, they will inevitably drive straight in. With just the little resources of the resettlement, how can they possibly be a match for those ants? At that time, they will definitely have to purchase or rent a large number of weapons and equipment. Isn't that a big deal? As the saying goes, when the guns fire, gold flows. Isn't that what it means? Niu Xingwang described the future scene with feigned excitement. The key point in his words was that the giant ants would drive straight in after breaking through the Yangtze River. Although the words were spoken in reverse, the effect would definitely be positive. What kind of person is Yan Xiangping? A member of the council and commander of the military region, he couldn't possibly lack this kind of overall perspective. Sure enough, when Niu Xingwang mentioned the words drive straight in, Yan Xiangping's heart skipped a beat. This is bad. Yan Xiangping widened his eyes and realized, Commander Yan, what do you think? Do you want to cooperate? Niu Xingwang asked again. Yan Xiangping didn't say anything, but Niu Xingwang knew that the purpose of his words had been achieved. Alright, I have something to do, I won't chat with you anymore. We can talk about cooperation later, Yan Xiangping said and quickly hung up the phone. He was directly awakened by Niu Xingwang's sentence about driving straight in. This was no longer just a matter for one resettlement, it could be related to the life and death of the entire Huan nation. Missing the golden opportunity to prevent the mutated insects from crossing the river would be too late for regret. He put on his coat and went straight to the airport. He needed to see the speaker. This matter had to be discussed in person. On the way, Yan Xiangping contacted Mayor Su of Jingmen City again, telling him that they were discussing the matter internally and asking him to act according to circumstances and stay in touch. He also told him that he had already sent a team over and asked him to cooperate. Then, he ordered the Special Forces Regiment directly under the command to set off immediately for the Beixia resettlement. They must build defensive fortifications on the north bank of the Changjing Bridge as soon as possible. Mayor Su's mind was buzzing after receiving Yan Xiangping's call. What was going on? Wasn't he told to solve it himself? Why were troops being sent suddenly? Could it be related to the Huituang Chamber of Commerce? That shouldn't be the case, right? Does the Huituang Chamber of Commerce have that much power? He had just been thinking about the Huituang Chamber of Commerce when the phone rang. The person calling back was still Gu Qingyi. She told Mayor Su that the Huituang Chamber of Commerce could consider renting a batch of equipment to them, but the rental fee would be deducted from their member account since the Beixia resettlement had already reached a cooperation agreement with the Huituang Chamber of Commerce to build a branch, and had already obtained a land transfer fee by transferring a portion of the land. This fund had been agreed upon in the previous contract to be deposited into the member account of the resettlement headquarters in the form of member points. So they had a lot of points in their member account. Chapter 209, Special Forces Arrival. Good. Excellent. Mayor Su felt reassured first. Yan Xiangping stated that he had already dispatched troops, and then the Huituang Chamber of Commerce agreed to lease them weapons and equipment. This greatly increased their chances of successfully defending against the ant attack. Afternoon 2020, the sun was setting, and the evening glow dyed half the sky red. The ground, which had been exposed to the sun all day, was constantly churning with heat waves. The rushing crowds were like ants on a hot pan, anxious and restless. Everyone, hurry up. Those in the back, keep up. Team leader Pham stood by the road, holding a funnel-shaped unpowered megaphone, shouting and urging people on. 2 hours had passed, and half of the people had not yet crossed the Changjing Bridge, which made him extremely anxious. Throw away anything useless and speed up. Zombies will come out after dark, and we don't have much time left. Everyone, work harder and run faster. Team leader Fan continued to shout, his face and body covered in sweat from the heat. While shouting, Team leader Fan and his team slowly walked towards the bridge. On the other side of the bridge, Mayor Su had been standing there for about half an hour. He kept looking up at the sky, anxiously waiting for Yan Xiangping's troops to arrive. Before long, the roar of helicopters came from the horizon. They're here. Mayor Su's eyes lit up. He took out his binoculars and looked towards the source of the sound. Dozens of helicopters were lined up in several chevron formations, flying towards him in an orderly manner from the southwest. It seems like there should be a lot of people, Mayor Su thought as the sun completely disappeared on the horizon. The helicopters finally landed. One after another, Fully armed soldiers in combat uniforms emerged from the planes. After jumping out of the planes, they quickly organized their formation on the nearby open space. An officer in a military uniform ran straight towards Mayor Su. Mayor Su had seen combat uniforms at the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce, so he was not surprised by the soldier's attire. The officer walked up to Mayor Su, removed his combat uniform with one button, revealing a young and handsome face. "Hello, Mayor Su." The young officer gave a military salute. "Hello." Mayor Su reached out and shook hands with the officer. "Mayor Su, upon receiving Commander Yan's order, we are responsible for building defensive fortifications on the north bank of the Changjing Bridge. We are now taking over here. Please leave as soon as possible and return to the resettlement area," the officer said. "Not yet. The people in the Changjing resettlement area on the south bank haven't completely crossed the Changjing Bridge yet. I have to keep an eye on things here." Mayor Su refused the officer's offer. "All right then, Mayor Su, please be careful." The officer didn't press the matter, nodded with a smile, and turned to leave. They were also racing against time. The sun was about to set, and they had to hurry up and build the fortifications at the same time. Yan Zhangping's plane had already arrived in Kyoto, Parliament Building, Speaker's office. "Councillor Yan, what's the matter that you're looking for me so urgently?" Speaker Bailey Ji asked. Yan Zhangping was stunned. This tone was not right. In the past, Bailey Ji would call him Old Yan in private. Why was his tone so distant today, however? Yan Zhangping had something on his mind at this time and did not pay attention to these details. "Speaker Bailey, I have an important matter to discuss with you today," Yan Zhangping said. "Oh? What is it?" Bailey Ji asked. "It's like this. Giant ants have appeared in Jingmen City in the Hansong area, and their numbers are very large. I'm worried that these ants will attack the resettlement area. So today, I've come here specifically to ask if we should send troops to intercept them." Yan Zhangping said politely. "Councillor Yan, didn't the council already come to a conclusion that the affairs of each resettlement area should be resolved by themselves, and the council will no longer interfere?" Bailey Ji said indifferently. "That's true, but this matter is different from the previous situations," Yan Zhangping said. "How is it different?" Bailey Ji asked. "Giant ants are social animals, and their reproductive ability is even greater than that of rats. If these ants break through Jingmen City, without the natural barrier of the Yangtze River, the entire Central Plains region will most likely become an ant hunting ground. You must know that, so far, more than 90% of the resettlement areas in China are located north of the Yangtze River. If this really happens, the consequences will be unimaginable," Yan Zhangping said. "Councillor Yan, you're overthinking it. They're just some ants. Can they really eat people?" Bailey Ji remained unmoved. Yan Zhangping frowned. Today's Bailey Ji gave him a serious sense of distance. Moreover, the sense of responsibility of having the world in mind seemed to have disappeared completely. "Brother Bailey, what's wrong with you?" Yan Zhangping wanted to ask his doubts. "Councillor Yan, this is the Parliament building, and we are still discussing official business. Please pay attention to your address." Bailey Ji interrupted Yan Zhangping's question. "All right, Your Excellency Speaker, in my opinion, this matter is no longer an internal problem of individual resettlement areas, but is related to the survival of the entire China. I think that no matter how much it costs, we must resolutely stop these ants on the Yangtze River line." Yan Zhangping expressed his views. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Baileji's Attitude. I think you're oversimplifying this. Looking at the big picture, the ecological crisis is the most pressing issue facing all of China. We've paid a huge price to find a final refuge for humanity before the crisis arrives. If we interfere with the settlements now, we'll be back to square one like last year. Tell me, can you protect those settlements when the ecological crisis hits? Can the council? Bailey Ji asked. Yan Zhangping was speechless. He didn't know if he would have the ability in the future, but he certainly didn't have it now. Councillor Yan, this matter shouldn't be decided based on personal likes or dislikes. The responsibility on our shoulders is no longer about the gains and losses of a single city or region, but the continuation of our entire civilization. I hope you won't be foolish about this, the speaker continued. The continuation of civilization also needs people to achieve. If people are all dead, how can civilization exist? Yan Zhangping still wanted to persuade Bailey Ji. That's easy. The Military and Political Affairs Department and the Civil Affairs Department are already working together to draw up a list of personnel for the Mosinark base. I can issue an order for the Military and Political Affairs Department to protect the people on the list and evacuate them to the Mosin area at any time if necessary, Bailey G said, revealing his plan. This list determined which people in China were qualified to enter the official Mosinark base to survive. The people on the list included outstanding talents, technicians, workers, and students from all walks of life. Because it involved so many people and required strict confidentiality, the workload was enormous and time-consuming. Speaker Bailey, this isn't like you. Yan Zhangping seemed to no longer recognize his old comrade in arms. Oh? Then tell me, what's not like me? Bailey G asked indifferently. I can't feel the passion in you, Yan Zhangping said. Counselor Yan, the current situation is complex and severe, and my position is very special. So, you understand, some things are beyond my control, Bailey G said. So, you're saying you won't consider intervening in this matter at all? Yan Zhangping asked to confirm. Yes, Bailey G remained expressionless. I demand an emergency council meeting. Yan Zhangping's tone also turned cold. According to the China Council Act, councillors have the right to request an emergency council meeting on major issues involving national security. I'm afraid you don't have that power, Bailey G said. Why not? Yan Zhangping asked. According to the China Council Act, wartime armaments regulations, the Speaker has supreme command and veto power when China enters a state of emergency, Bailey G replied. Brother Bailey, you will lead China to utter destruction if you do this, Yan Zhangping shouted. Counselor Yan, I emphasize again, please call me Your Excellency the Speaker, Bailey G said coldly. Good, very good. Speaker Bailey, I hope you won't regret your decision today. Seeing that Bailey G was unyielding, Yan Zhangping said no more and stormed off. Jingmen City, Changjing Bridge. It was already 9:30 p.m. as night fell. The last batch of people finally arrived in Jiangbei amidst panic. Running the Special Forces Regiment directly under the Southwest Military Region began to block the bridge, laying wooden spikes and sandbags on the bridge surface due to the limited width of the bridge. They built segmented fortifications to maximize interception capabilities. Every 10 meters on the bridge, a sandbag barrier was set up, with wooden spikes placed on the outside and heavy machine guns mounted on the sandbags. More than a dozen such fortifications were laid out in a row. All the work was completed close to midnight. The people of the Changjing settlement had all arrived at the newly arranged settlement. This settlement was only 2 kilometers away from the Beixia settlement. The 5 envoys who had been watching from afar finally got their chance. Thus, more than 50,000 zombies, led by 5 Tier 3 zombies, began to swarm towards the Beixia settlement. At this time, Mayor Su had just lied down to rest when he was woken up by a member of the security team. What? Zombies? Mayor Su was in trouble. Couldn't these zombies have come on another day? Mayor Su thought glumly. He quickly put on his clothes and went to the city wall. Bang! Bang! The zombies outside the city were gathering at the city gate, banging on it with all their might. Call everyone over and block the city gate with stones. Mayor Su ordered. The captain on duty obeyed and left. Mayor Su had seen the world, and he knew that many settlements would have zombies knocking on their doors every now and then, but very few zombies succeeded in breaking into the city. So, he wasn't afraid at all in his heart. Is our attack too gentle? One envoy, hiding in the shadows, asked another envoy. It's a bit too gentle, but Protector has ordered that there should be no casualties. Do you dare let the zombies attack the city? The other envoy replied. I dare not. The envoy who asked the question quickly replied. That's all there is to it. The other envoy replied. The envoy stopped talking. Chapter 211, Zhongzhangyu is set up. Yushu Province, Kunfeng City, Southeast Military Region Command. Old Yan, why aren't you sleeping at this hour? What brings you here? Zhongzhangyu asked, yawning. Old Zong, listen to me. You need to immediately arrange troops to patrol along the north bank of the Yangtze River. You're in charge of the downstream area, and I'll handle the upstream area. We must seal off the entire Yangtze River line as quickly as possible, Yan Zhangping said, getting straight to the point. What the hell? Zhongzhangyu was stunned by these words. He rubbed his eyes, thinking he wasn't awake yet and was still dreaming. Are you out of your mind? Why seal off the Yangtze River? Zhongzhangyu asked. It's an emergency, so I'll make it brief. During the day today, the Changjing resettlement in Jingmen City, Hanzhong Province, on my side, discovered a large number of giant ants. If these ants reach the north of the Yangtze River, the consequences will be unimaginable, Yan Zhangping said. You're overthinking it. They're just ants. What can they do? Zhongzhen Yu glanced at him sideways. HMPH. Have you considered that north of the Yangtze River, there are no more natural barriers? If the ant swarm advances unimpeded, how do you plan to defend against it? Yan Zhangping was displeased seeing his nonchalant attitude after all this effort. He felt like a barber pushing a razor, putting in all the effort himself. What you're saying makes sense. Zhongzhen Yu nodded thoughtfully, but you know, my southeast military region is also responsible for the security and patrol duties of the central military region, so our forces are very dispersed. It's difficult to spare troops to seal off the Yangtze River right now. Zhongzhen Yu said, you can't spare troops now, but you will be able to once the ants cross the river. Yan Zhangping glared at him unhappily. This, Zhongzhen Yu was silenced by the retort after a moment of thought. Zhongzhen Yu asked, have you reported this matter to the council? I went to see Bailey Ji, but that guy is stubborn and unreasonable. Yan Zhangping said bluntly, that shouldn't be the case. Logically speaking, this is no longer just about one or two resettlement areas. Everyone needs to work together. Bailey Ji couldn't possibly lack this basic awareness. Zhongzhen Yu said, who says he doesn't? But that's the reality. What can you do? Yan Zhangping said, then we'll propose convening a temporary council. Can he really dictate everything by himself? Zhongzhen Yu refused to believe it. He brought out the wartime military regulations, saying he has supreme command and veto power. Yan Zhangping said, outrageous. When did Bailey Ji become a dictator? Zhongzhen Yu exclaimed in anger upon hearing this. Now is not the time to argue about this. We need to secure the Yangtze River line first. If we miss this golden opportunity, I'm afraid the situation will become uncontrollable. Yan Zhangping said, without the council's approval, I have no authority to adjust strategic deployments. Zhongzhen Yu said, troubled, you people are also rigid. Rules are dead, people are alive. Are we going to let the dead rules stifle us? Yan Zhangping blurted out some cruel language. Think again, think again. Zhongzhen Yu wasn't annoyed and began pacing back and forth, thinking. Yan Zhangping watched him pacing back and forth right in front of him. How about this? I'll send planes to blow up all the bridges over the river first. The river is so wide. I don't believe these ants can grow wings and fly across. Zhongzhen Yu had a flash of inspiration anyway. There are no more resettlement areas south of the Yangtze River, so he didn't care. You know what? That might be a solution, Yan Zhangping said after calmly considering it. Alright, let's do it. Zhongzhen Yu didn't hesitate, picked up the phone, and made a call soon after. Dozens of bombers took off from the southeast military region and flew directly towards the various bridges along the Yangtze River line. If they were going to blow them up, they would do it thoroughly, leaving no bridge standing. Yan Zhangping also picked up the phone and issued the same order. In short, they couldn't worry about so much right now. They would blow up the bridges first, just in case of course. This didn't include the Changjing Bridge in Jingmen City. By 3 a.m., all the bridges over the Yangtze River, from upstream to downstream, had been destroyed. What do you plan to do next? Zhongzhen Yu asked. What can I do? Go back to the southwest military region. Anyway, even if the ants cross the river, it doesn't have much to do with me. Why should I bother with it? Yan Zhangping was still angry. He was right. Except for some areas in Hansong Province and Sichuan Province, all the resettlement areas in the southwest military region had basically been evacuated to the low-altitude areas of Luzon. Even if the ants crossed the Yangtze River, the central military region and the southeast military region would suffer the greatest losses, followed by the northwest military region and the northeast military region. As for his southwest military region, Yan Zhangping didn't think the impact would be too great. Old Yan, aren't you being a bit unfair? Are you making this my problem? Zhongzhen Yu was unhappy. This was originally your problem. The vast Central Plains region north of the Yangtze River is your and Shentafu's territory. I'm just meddling in things that don't concern me, Yan Zhangping replied. No way. You must defend the upstream area of the Yangtze River. At this point, Zhongzhen Yu became more anxious than Yan Zhangping. Forget it. I'll go back and evacuate the resettlement areas in Hansong to the Luzon region as well, to avoid trouble, Yan Zhangping said. Chapter 212 Private Meeting of Military Commanders. What am I supposed to do if you pull out? Zhongzhen Yu asked. You can go find Shentafu. His territory isn't small either. Shouldn't he contribute? Yan Zhangping pointed out a clear path for Zhongzhen Yu. Zhongzhen Yu understood. Yan Zhangping was setting a trap for him, but he really couldn't ignore it. Even knowing it was a trap, he could only walk into it. Old Yan, I think I understand now. This is your real reason for coming, isn't it? Zhongzhen Yu asked, looking at him. What nonsense. I came to give you a heads up, worried that your side would be ravaged by ants, Yan Zhangping firmly denied. I believe you like I believe in ghosts, Zhong Zhenyu retorted, continuing, I'll arrange several patrol teams in the downstream areas for 24-hour patrols. I can also call on the headquarters direct regiment at any time. If there are any issues, I'll send people over. This was the best response Zhong Zhenyu could currently manage. This method could cope when there were fewer ants, but if multiple colonies were crossing the river simultaneously at different locations, the current plan would be insufficient. However, as things stood, there shouldn't be any major problems. Alright. How about this? Call Shantafu and Suo Tunhua and have them both come over. They must contribute to this matter as well. Relying on just the two of us isn't enough. We'll each be responsible for a section of the defense zone, striving to keep these mutated ants firmly blocked south of the Yangtze River, Yan Zhangping said. Old Yan, have you considered that doing this would create two problems? Zhong Zhenyu frowned. Oh? Tell me. Yan Zhangping looked at him. First, we're making such a big commotion without reporting it to the military and political department. If the council investigates, we'll both be in trouble. Second, without a reported military action, the military and political department certainly won't approve weapons and ammunition for us. This battle won't be easy. It's purely a war of attrition. How long can we last? Zhong Zhenyu analyzed. Here's what I'm thinking. We'll analyze the specific situation. Isn't Bailey G trying to be a dictator? Then we'll make the matter big. If the matter is big enough, even if he's the speaker, he might not be able to suppress it. Justice resides in the hearts of the people. I don't believe all the council members are blind, Yan Zhangping said righteously. That's right. I, Lao Zhuang, declare that I support you on this matter. Zhong Zhenyu patted his chest and said Zhong Zhenyu and Suo Tunhua didn't get along, so Yan Zhangping simply took the lead himself. He had already made up his mind that if the council blamed him, he would take full responsibility. The night passed uneventfully. The giant ants remained south of the Changjing resettlement. Without advancing north, it wasn't until the morning that Shantafu and Suo Tunhua arrived at the southeast military region. Old Yan, you can't even rest at night. What's the rush in calling us over? Suo Tunhua shouted as soon as he entered the door. Shantafu always looked serious. After entering the office and sitting down, he didn't say a word. That was just him, ruthless and not verbose. Please, have a seat. Yan Zhangping invited them to sit down. Suo Tunhua completely ignored Zhong Zhenyu. They didn't really have any grudges, they just couldn't stand each other and were always ready to argue. Here's the situation. Yesterday afternoon, a large number of giant ants were discovered in Jingmen City, Hanzhuang area. The small ones are several centimeters long, and the large ones are over 2 meters. The number of ants is very large, and they leave nothing untouched wherever they go, eating everything edible. According to my analysis, these ants may continue to spread north, Yan Zhangping said. Then why don't you send a few bombers to flatten them all? Suo Tunhua said. It's not that simple. These ants are just the ones we've already discovered. There are certainly more we haven't found yet. Since there's one group, there will naturally be many groups. Before we're fully prepared, rashly attacking those ants isn't a wise choice, Yan Zhangping said. Then what do you plan to do? Suo Tunhua asked. Eliminating those ants isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is that these ants must not cross the Yangtze River, Yan Zhangping said. Getting to the point, Suo Tunhua stopped talking and quietly pondered. Shantafu twirled the prayer beads in his hand, seemingly also thinking, you're right, these ants must not cross the river. Even if a single ant crosses the Yangtze River, it would be a huge threat to the entire Huan nation. Suo Tunhua was the first to state his position. That's right, Shantafu said 2 words. Now that everyone agrees, let's discuss how to handle this matter, Yan Zhangping said. Wait, why didn't you go to Bailey G about this? Suo Tunhua asked. He knew that Yan Zhangping and Bailey G were old comrades in arms and that the two had always been close. He should have gone directly to him at this time. I did, but he doesn't approve of doing it this way, Yan Zhangping said. This, Suo Tunhua hadn't expected that Shantafu also frowned. The severity of this matter could be understood with a little thought. No one had anticipated that Bailey G would have such an attitude. Chapter 213 The Fuse of the Conflict. Bailey G invoked the wartime military regulations, planning to act unilaterally. Given the current emergency, I don't have time to argue with him, so I'm consulting with you all, Yan Zhangping explained the situation. Old Yan, you're overstepping your authority. You should know what we're doing here. To put it bluntly, this is circumventing the council and holding a small meeting, which violates the council's laws, said Suo Tunhua. Then what do you suggest? If we keep arguing, regardless of the outcome, the ants might have already crossed the Yangtze River. At that point, what's the point of arguing about who's right and wrong? Yan Zhangping asked. Shen Tufu, what do you think? Suo Tunhua looked at Shen Tuzhanghao beside him. Act first, report later, Shen Tuzhanghao replied. Good. Let's do it that way. Suo Tunhua slammed the table, also stating his position. Good. In that case, the upper reaches of the Yangtze River in the Lhasa region should be fine. Starting from Sichuan, along the Yangtze River eastward, our 4 military regions will each be responsible for a section, dispatching several patrol teams for close monitoring. In addition, we'll each draw a regiment of troops for immediate support. Yan Zhangping stated the patrol plan he had discussed with Zhang Zhangyu. Our northeast military region is relatively far away. Sending people is fine, but you'll have to figure out the logistics, said Suo Tunhua. Okay, we'll provide the garrison and living supplies, but you'll have to prepare your own weapons and equipment, Yan Zhangping said. Currently, all military regions are short on ammunition, and without logistical support from the Military Affairs Department, everyone's days ahead will be difficult. Okay, Suo Tunhua agreed. Brother Shen too, the same goes for you. We'll provide the garrison and living supplies, and you prepare your own weapons and ammunition, Yan Zhangping confirmed with Shen Tuzhanghao. Okay, Shen Tuzhanghao said concisely. This isn't the time to be petty. Without unity, nothing can be accomplished. The 4 military region commanders, without a council resolution, formulated a strategic deployment for patrolling the Yangtze River line. Yan Zhangping initiated this matter, and he would naturally bear the inescapable responsibility if the council investigated. This also became the fuse for the conflict between Yan Zhangping and the council. In the following time, they divided the sections for their respective patrols. Yan Zhangping's southwest military region was responsible for the uppermost reaches. Suo Tunhua's northeast military region was responsible for the first section of the middle reaches. Shen Tuzhanghao's northwest military region was responsible for the second section of the middle reaches, and Zhangjianguyu's southeast military region was responsible for the lowermost reaches. Originally, Shen Tuzhanghao should have been responsible for the first section of the middle reaches, but Suo Tunhua insisted on not being next to Zhangjianguyu, so the two had to switch. After the 4 military region commanders finalized the matter, they left. After Yan Zhangping returned to the southwest military region, he arranged the patrol tasks and devoted himself to his rat-raising enterprise. Around 4 p.m. on July 17, the Autumn-Tomachus ant colony south of the Changjing settlement began to migrate north. After advancing about 5 kilometers, they stationed again. At this point, the Changjing settlement had completely become their habitat. Yan Fangfeng's major was biology. After learning about the appearance of Autumn-Tomachus ants in the Hansong area, she took several people to investigate. They stopped the aircraft 2 kilometers away from the Autumn-Tomachus ant colony and climbed the nearest high-rise building. Yan Fangfeng used the reconnaissance function of her digital eye to carefully analyze the ant colony's movements. She occasionally took out binoculars for a closer look. Then, she took out a notebook and wrote and drew on the paper. These images were also synchronized by Yan Fangfeng to Dongfang Chen. Xiaolin, what is the current state of the miniature queen in the Changjing settlement? Dongfang Chen asked. The miniature queen in the Changjing settlement is still in its initial state. Due to the lack of crystal cores, its development is not good, Xiaolin explained. Dongfang Chen and contacted Chu Zhangping to inquire about how many zombies the several holy envoys in Jingmen City had gathered. Chu Zhangping's reply was 40,000, because during the feigned attack on the Beisha settlement last night, the 50,000 zombies brought there had 10,000 of them decomposed by the miniature queen, which were used for the construction of the Chamber of Commerce branch and the Mercenary Guild branch within the settlement. Originally, Dongfang Chen planned to have several holy envoys dispatch a portion of the zombies to the vicinity of the Changjing settlement at night to deliver some crystal cores to the miniature queen there. However, since all the bridges along the Yangtze River had been blown up, this plan could not be implemented. If Yan Fangfeng were to transfer crystal cores from the southwest military region, it would inevitably cause some unnecessary trouble. Because on the surface, there were no people or any defensive weapons near the Changjing settlement at this time. What would be the point of sending crystal cores there? The fewer people who knew about the existence of the miniature queen, the better. There was no other way. Dongfang Chen could only order the special operations team members from the base to take a trip. He had Daizhang arrange for several people to load 5 large boxes, totaling 50,000 crystal cores, and fly directly to the Changjing settlement. The boxes for storing the crystal cores were specially reinforced and steel plates were welded on the outside to prevent them from breaking when dropped from high altitude or being destroyed by the ant colony. Chapter 214, Using the queen bee to explore the ant colony. Why send crystal cores to the micro queen bee at the Changjing resettlement area? Because Dongfang Chen wanted to know why these ants were staying there and not leaving. They definitely wouldn't be resting there for no reason. The surface might not reveal anything, but there could be hidden secrets underground. Dongfang's view was that the ant colony might start building nests or breeding on the spot after acquiring enough food. But the specific purpose needed further investigation. Obviously, the simplest way now was to let the micro queen bee develop and then mass-produce micro ant robots to scout. Around 9 p.m., Daizhang arrived in the sky above the Changjing resettlement area with people and crystal cores. The base's aircraft used anti-gravity engines, which were very quiet, so they could fly very low without disturbing the ants. 5 large iron boxes containing crystal cores were directly dropped into the central area of the resettlement area, landing on the ground with a heavy thud. The nearby ants were disturbed and quickly crawled towards the iron boxes. Bang, bang, they attacked the iron boxes with their wide mandibles, but unfortunately, they couldn't cause any damage. Then, more and more ants gathered around and attacked the boxes together, but they were still unsuccessful. After Daizhang ordered the boxes to be dropped, he had the plane return to the base. Subsequently, Xiaolin, through the supercomputing center, issued instructions to the micro queen bee. After receiving the instructions, the micro queen bee ordered the ant robots to transport the crystal cores to the underground hive. Immediately afterward, the queen bee began to use these crystal cores to mass-produce ant robots. As more and more ant robots were manufactured, the area that the queen bee could explore became farther and farther. By 9 a.m. the next morning, the situation underground at the Changjing resettlement area was almost completely clear. After Dongfang Chen got up and arrived at the office, the first thing that caught his eye was the 3D projection on the big screen. Commander, the underground situation near the Changjing resettlement area has been investigated, Xiaolin reported. These ants have been doing this for the past 2 days, Dongfang Chen exclaimed as he looked at the projection on the screen. Yes, Commander, Xiaolin replied. On the screen was a complex, root-like underground castle that constantly extended outwards. Ants are indeed natural builders in nature. Such a project is a miracle of the biological world, Dongfang Chen said. Commander, according to the analysis data, there is a queen ant in the underground ant nest, which is mass-breeding new worker ants. It is expected that they will continue to migrate north by the afternoon, Xiaolin said. Okay, I understand. Notify Yang Fangfang and have her inform the soldiers stationed on the north bank of the Yangtze River to blow up the Changjing Bridge as soon as possible, Dongfang Chen said. Yes, Commander. Dongfang Chen originally wanted the micro queen bee to directly kill the queen ant. But on second thought, if the queen ant died, the ant colony would fall into chaos, which could lead to uncontrollable consequences. At the same time, the ant colony would develop wings during the process of differentiating new queen ants. This would increase the danger of the ant colony to a certain extent. Moreover, crystal cores were limited, and the micro queen bee could not decompose so many ants. Therefore, other methods had to be found to deal with these ants. Yusa Province, Yujing City, 10:20 a.m. Look, a person on the plane shouted loudly. Another person heard the sound and looked down. Oh my God. The person who looked down felt a tightening in his heart. Quick, contact the headquarters, a soldier shouted to the pilot. Number 73,518 calling headquarters. Number 73,518 calling headquarters, the pilot shouted because the plane noise was too loud. This is headquarters, number 73,518, please speak. A large number of unidentified creatures have been found on the south bank of the Yangtze River in Yujing City. Repeat, a large number of unidentified creatures have been found on the south bank of the Yangtze River in Yujing City, the pilot reported loudly. Headquarters has received it, please continue reconnaissance, Roger. After receiving the reply, the plane continued to fly east along the Yangtze River. Immediately afterward, dozens of transport planes took off from the southeast military region and flew towards Yujing City. Yujing City is the provincial capital of Yusa Province and a megacity in China. The Yangtze River passes through the middle of this city. Therefore, if unidentified creatures are found here, the problem will definitely be serious. Because such creatures may also appear in Zhengbei, they could only hope that it wasn't ants. Immediately afterward, the news spread to the garrisons of the other 3 military regions. Each military region had already transferred a regiment of troops to garrison the Yangtze River, So after receiving the news, they quickly rushed towards Yujing City. The southeast military region was the closest and received the news the earliest, and quickly arrived at the scene. The soldiers looked down from low altitude, feeling very surprised. Quick, 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 land on the north bank of the Yangtze River as soon as possible and build fortifications, an officer ordered. Subsequently, the plane arrived at the north bank of the Yangtze River and hovered at low altitude. The soldiers reached the ground one by one along the hanging ropes. The soldiers who landed first quickly searched for cover and stood guard. Chapter 215, Request for Assimilation and Ammunition. Free fire, the officer commanded. Bang, bang, bang. The soldiers who had reached the ground quickly opened fire. The bugs flying in midair were hit and fell directly into the river. They turned out to be mutated cockroaches. Although the Yujing Yangtze River bridge had been blown up, the distance between the severed north and south ends was still very short, only about 20 or 30 meters. They were all gathered at the southern end of the bridge, and then took off into the air, flying towards the northern side. The soldiers landed at the northern end of the bridge. Bang, 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 bang. Cockroaches continued to fly towards the north side, and the sound of gunfire immediately rang out. The cockroaches that fell into the river, although injured, were still struggling tenaciously in the water. Look, what's that? A soldier pointed to the water surface. They saw those cockroaches being frantically attacked by a group of small fish with sharp teeth, and they were quickly dismembered beyond recognition. Hiss. The soldiers who saw this couldn't help but feel their scalps tingle at this time. They realized that beneath a seemingly peaceful water surface, there was already a murderous intent. Such murderous intent was even more dangerous than on land. Report to the commander. A large number of mutated cockroaches have appeared in Yujing City. They are trying to fly across the Yujing Yangtze River bridge. There are too many of them, and our ammunition may not last long. We are now requesting air support to bomb the southern side of the Yangtze River bridge. The officer picked up the satellite phone and reported, be sure to hold the northern side of the bridge. Air support will arrive soon. Zhongzhen Yu ordered. Yes. Bang, 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 bang. The soldiers stood scattered on both sides of the bridge, constantly shooting into the air. Some of the cockroaches that fell into the water were broken down by the small fish, but some that were not broken down had already struggled to climb onto the north bank of the river. Their bodies were covered with oil, so they didn't sink easily into the water. You guys guard the river bank. Be sure to kill all the cockroaches that climb ashore. The officer ordered. The cockroaches' shells were very thick, and their vitality was very tenacious, so they were not easily killed. Therefore, it often took dozens of bullets to kill one cockroach, resulting in a very large consumption of bullets. Soon, a regiment from the Northwest Military Region and a regiment from the Northeast Military Region arrived one after another and directly joined the battle. The mutated cockroaches were very large and easy to aim at, and they were all gathered at the broken part of the southern end of the bridge, very concentrated. So the soldiers' defensive pressure was not great. The most troublesome thing was that the cockroaches constantly falling into the water would drift downstream with the river water, so they had to send some soldiers along the riverbank to chase downstream. Even injured cockroaches could not be allowed to go ashore easily. If they laid eggs on the north bank, the consequences would be very serious. 20 minutes later, the fighter jets arrived. Boom, boom, boom. The south bank of the Yangtze River was subjected to a series of bombings, and suddenly various broken limbs and arms mixed with yellow liquid splash everywhere. The remaining section of the Yujing Yangtze River bridge on the south bank also completely collapsed in the bombing because the cockroaches were too concentrated. This wave of bombing was very effective. More than 80% of the cockroaches were torn apart in this bombing. This battle lasted for an hour. After all the cockroaches that climbed towards the north bank were killed and thrown into the river, even the corpses could not be left on the shore. Who knew which cockroach's abdomen might be carrying a large number of insect eggs? Even if it was dead, it was still very dangerous at this time. They had to thank the small fish in the water. Their hard work saved the soldiers a lot of trouble. If it weren't for them, the soldiers would have had to catch the cockroaches' corpses and burn them in a concentrated manner. It won't work to fight like this, Zhongzhen Yu thought with a headache while sitting in the office. Just one battle mobilized 5 fighter jets and 1 regiment each from 3 military regions. The consumption of gasoline and bullets made his heart ache. If he had to do this a few more times, his southeast military region would be poor. The key is that the military and political department would not provide support for these weapons and ammunition. It was purely consumption. Originally, he was thinking of extorting some benefits from the southwest military region. But after all, this battle took place on the territory of his southeast military region, so he couldn't justify asking Yan Xiangping for something. Ding ling ling. The phone rang. He saw that it was Suo Tunhua. Zhang Zhenyu answered the phone. Zhang Four Eyes. I don't care, you have to find a way to solve the weapons and ammunition. No one can stand this, Suo Tunhua shouted on the phone. It was originally agreed that each military region would solve the weapons and ammunition themselves, but once something happened, seeing that a large portion of his ammunition reserves were gone, no one felt comfortable. Didn't we agree in advance that each military region would solve the weapons and ammunition themselves? Zhang Zhenyu prevaricated. Solve my ass. Tens of thousands of bullets are gone in one outing. Who the hell can stand that? I don't care, you find a way. Otherwise, I'll withdraw my people. Suo Tunhua didn't listen at all. Aren't you just being a rascal? Zhang Zhenyu felt a little guilty. Stop giving me useless talk. You hurry up and find a way. After speaking, Suo Tunhua hung up the phone directly. Zhang Zhenyu rubbed his forehead and felt overwhelmed. Chapter 216. Yan Xiangping was suspended. Southwest Military Region Headquarters. Councilman Yan, you've got some nerve. The army isn't your private force. Your unauthorized actions show utter disregard for the council, Speaker Bailey G questioned over the phone. Bailey G, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. How have I acted without authorization? Yan Xiangping retorted, his tone equally harsh. HMPH. Shen Chuzhenghao has already called me about it. Do you still want to deny it? Bailey G didn't dwell on his disrespect and continued his interrogation. Yan Xiangping frowned. Why would Shen Chuzhenghao call Bailey G? That's strange. Oh? What did he say? Yan Xiangping asked. The military deployment along the Yangtze River is something you planned in secret, right? A joint operation involving 4 military regions, quite the grand scheme. It seems I should hand over my position as speaker to you, Bailey G said sarcastically. That's right, I planned it. What do you intend to do about it? Yan Xiangping simply stopped concealing the truth. Good that you admit it. I, in my capacity as Supreme Commander in wartime, hereby announce the temporary revocation of your position as Commander-in-Chief of the Southwest Military Region, the removal of all your other council duties, and a suspension for reflection. The documents from the Military Affairs Department will be delivered shortly. Consider yourself warned. With that, Bailey G hung up the phone. Yan Xiangping hung up the phone, sighed, and leaned back in his chair. At that moment, he felt utterly drained. The feeling was like a release, yet also like exhaustion. Liu Fiang from the Military Affairs Department was shocked when he received the speaker's order. This was a council member, the Commander-in-Chief of the Southwest Military Region. To dismiss him just like that? Was this a joke? Soon, he learned the truth. It turned out that Yan Xiangping had bypassed a council and directly coordinated a joint military operation with the other 3 military regions. This was a major taboo. What difference was there between this and rebellion? Suo Tunhua chose to directly ask Zhang Zhenyu for ammunition, but Shen Chuzhenghao was stubborn and directly asked the speaker. This request directly led to Yan Xiangping's dismissal. Shen Chuzhenghao wasn't brainless, he simply wasn't afraid. What was there to fear? He was ready to fight if anyone disagreed. Upon receiving the notification, Liu Fiang immediately called the Northeast, Northwest, and Southeast military regions to verify the situation because the Military Affairs Department inherently included the function of military action reporting and approval. Routine verification was within his purview. Suo Tunhua of the Northeast Military Region and Zhang Zhenyu of the Southeast Military Region both denied the existence of such an operation. Only Shen Chuzhenghao of the Northwest Military Region didn't beat around the bush. He not only confirmed the military operation but also demanded that the Military Affairs Department quickly arrange for weapons, ammunition, and aviation fuel. This made Liu Fiang's head spin. That blockhead was utterly brainless. What kind of time was this to be asking for supplies? If everyone had denied it, he could have found a way to delay or mediate the situation, but now that Yan Xiangping of the Southwest Military Region and Shen Chuzhenghao of the Northwest Military Region had both admitted it, he was helpless soon. The document regarding Yan Xiangping's dismissal was sent to all council members. Everyone was shocked because each military region held a fixed seat, meaning the commander of each military region would concurrently serve as a council member. Yan Xiangping's dismissal meant that a new commander had to be appointed for the Southwest Military Region. This news quickly spread among the upper circles of Kyoto. In this day and age, the position of military region commander was a lucrative one with real power. Obtaining this position meant that the entire family could survive well in this apocalypse. For a time, everyone's minds became active. The Military Affairs Department was flooded with visitors day and night, and Liu Fiang's head was about to explode. Ring, ring hello, old Yan. That Bailey G really dared to make a move. What do we do now? Zhong Zhengyu said on the other end of the phone. He had received the notification and immediately called Yan Zhangping. Continue to defend the Yangtze River line according to the previous plan, Yan Zhangping said calmly. This isn't a long-term solution. Without the support of the council, ammunition will be difficult to sustain. Zhong Zhengyu was very troubled. Why was only Yan Zhangping dismissed, while the commanders of the southeast, northeast, and northwest military regions didn't even receive a punishment? That was because Yan Zhangping had convened a military conference in private, violating the council's laws, which constituted a serious political problem. The other three military regions had only mobilized subordinate combat units of the headquarters and had not violated any laws. Moreover, they had the right to directly mobilize subordinate combat units without reporting to the Military Affairs Department. Furthermore, given the current situation, excessively broad punishments could negatively impact morale. Even if the other three military regions continued to patrol the Yangtze River coast, the council wouldn't say anything. As long as this task was treated as an internal affair of each military region, it would be fine. However, in that case, they still wouldn't be able to obtain corresponding ammunition supplies from the Military Affairs Department. I'm trying to find a way to get weapons and ammunition. Just hold on for now, Yan Zhangping said. All right then, Zhong Zhengyu replied with Yan Zhangping's words. Zhong Zhengyu felt much more at ease. At least Yan Zhangping hadn't been affected by this. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217, Mazan Arc Martial Law. Ding ling ling. This time, the call was from Suo Tunhua. Old Yan, let me tell you, this matter isn't over. I'm putting it out there, whoever the hell dares to covet your commander's position, I'll beat the shit out of them, Suo Tunhua said. Look at you, acting like a bandit. What, is the council your home? You think you can just decide who gets promoted? You've been a soldier your whole life, and you still don't have any sense, Yan Zhangping said with a laugh and a scold. That's not how it works. We're in the right on this matter. What are we afraid of? Even the Emperor of Heaven has to obey the law, right? Oh, you say dismiss someone, and they were dismissed? The council can't be a one-man show, Suo Tunhua said indignantly. I was mentally prepared for this. Don't worry. My official hat, in exchange for the safety of the entire Jiangbei, is worth it, Yan Zhangping said with a smile. What are you saying? Those are discouraging words? Let me tell you, this matter isn't over. You should take this opportunity to rest for a while, and then we'll continue working together, Suo Tunhua said. Working together was Suo Tunhua's catchphrase. No one knew what he wanted to work together on. He always just said work together at the drop of a hat. Alright, then that's it for now, Yan Zhangping said, shaking his head with a smile, preparing to hang up the phone. Hey, wait. About patrolling the Yangtze River, are we still going to do it? Suo Tunhua asked. Of course. This matter concerns the safety of all the resettlement camps in Jiangbei. We can't slack off, Yan Zhangping said. Then the weapons and ammunition are a problem. Those people in the Military Affairs Department definitely won't approve a single bullet. Continuing like this isn't a solution, Suo Tunhua said. I'm already thinking of a way to deal with the weapons and ammunition. Just wait for a while, Yan Zhangping said. Alright, Suo Tunhua didn't mince words. The reason they were willing to persist in patrolling the Yangtze River wasn't because of Yan Zhangping's reputation. It was because everyone knew that guarding the Yangtze River meant guarding the safety of the people. Once the Yangtze River fell, countless people would die tragically and become displaced. The consequences were too severe. This was also why they were indignant on Yan Zhangping's behalf. Shen Tuzhenghao from the northwest didn't call. He didn't like saying comforting words. At this time, he was on his way to Kyoto. July 18, 1725 p.m. Shen Tuzhenghao arrived in Kyoto by military plane. Do you still remember that incident from 10 years ago? In the speaker's office, Shen Tuzhenghao sat across from the speaker and asked, Of course I remember. What's wrong? The speaker asked. Shen Tuzhenghao frowned and continued to ask, What did you do back then? Why are you bringing up these things? They're all ancient history, the speaker said. Do you want to do it again? Shen Tuzhenghao asked. The situation is different this time, and the current circumstances are also different, the speaker replied. Circumstances? These are the circumstances you were hoping for, right? Shen Tuzhenghao said, dissatisfied. Shen Tuzhenghao, what nonsense are you spouting? The speaker angrily questioned. Give me an explanation. Shen Tuzhenghao said, I have nothing to explain. And there's no need to explain to you. The speaker directly refused, seeing that the speaker's attitude was firm. Shen Tuzhenghao stopped wasting words and got up to leave that night. At 21:50 p.m. after Shen Tuzhenghao returned to the Northwest Military Region, he directly led people to the Mosin region and placed the Mosin Ark base, which was still under construction, under martial law. Shen Tuzhenghao, what are you doing? The speaker, after learning the news, quickly called. What am I doing? Shen Tuzhenghao asked. Do you understand what you're doing? This kind of behavior is equivalent to a military mutiny. Are you clear on that? The speaker questioned loudly. I think you've misunderstood. I just received intelligence that there are red cloth sex spies in the construction team. I'm investigating. Shen Tuzhenghao said. Bullshit. These soldiers have never left since arriving in the Mosin region. How could there be red cloth sect spies? The speaker knew what he was up to and didn't believe him at all for the sake of secrecy. The people who went to the Mosin region to build the underground base were only the main forces of the Central Military Region and 2 divisions each from the Northwest Military Region, the Northeast Military Region, and the Southwest Military Region. Besides that, there were some experts sent by several departments such as the Military Affairs Department and the Cultural Affairs Department. After everyone arrived in the Mosin region, they were under strict control, making it difficult to leak information to the outside, and it was almost impossible for anyone to infiltrate from the outside. Therefore, it was obvious that Shen Tuzhenghao was wielding a sword like Xiang Zhuang, aiming at Liu Bang. Speaker, the safety of the base is paramount. I must investigate this matter thoroughly, and there absolutely can't be any mistakes. Shen Tuzhenghao said what he meant was, I'm going to investigate slowly here. And it will end when I've investigated thoroughly. You? The speaker was choked. He couldn't forcibly order Shen Tuzhenghao to withdraw, because Shen Tuzhenghao had a reason to refuse. Moreover, the Mosin Ark base was an absolute secret and couldn't be exposed. Counselor Shen Tu, I hope you understand that the Mosin Ark base is of great importance. You must not act impulsively. The speaker could only soften his tone. Don't worry, Speaker Bai Li. I will definitely handle this matter carefully. Shen Tuzhenghao used his own methods to retaliate. Chapter 218 Dongfang Chen's threat. Overseas, somewhere. How many times have I told you? Try not to call, Ling Yu said into the phone. Holy sun, things have blown up. I had no choice but to make this call. The person on the other end of the phone said. What happened? Ling Yu frowned. That Shen Tuzhenghao is a simpleton. He acts at the slightest disagreement. He just put the Mosin Ark base on lockdown. He's clearly trying to go against me. The person on the other end said. What's going on? Ling Yu frowned. The thing is, then, the person on the phone explained the whole story of Yan Zhangping's dismissal. You acted too hastily on this matter. Yan Zhangping is, after all, a member of the council and the commander of the Southwest Military Region. He has been deeply rooted in China for many years. How could he be dealt with just a few words from you? Ling Yu said. The Holy Sun is right. My original plan was to use this incident to disrupt the council. Once the council is in chaos, China will be in chaos. But now that Shen Tuzhenghao has control of the Ark base, I don't think this matter can continue to develop. Once the base is exposed, our plan may be affected. The person on the phone explained. The Ark base must not be compromised, otherwise our entire plan will fall apart. You haven't been exposed, have you? Ling Yu asked with a frown. No. Good. Shen Tuzhenghao's control of the Ark base is nothing more than wanting to negotiate terms with you. You were too harsh in handling Yan Zhangping's matter in the first place. Now, just go along with it and reach a reconciliation as soon as possible. After this matter is over, you must lie low and try not to be in the limelight. Wait until the Ark base is completed before making any further plans, Ling Yu ordered. Okay, that's it then. Ling Yu hung up the phone. Binjiang underground base. Dongfang Chen had already finished listening to the recording. He leaned back in his chair, his brow furrowed. Yan Zhangping is in trouble. Could the number one mentioned last time be? The information obtained is still too little. The construction of the signal tower takes time. Before that, the only channels for obtaining information were sleepers, chambers of commerce, and guilds. The interruption of the ground network has resulted in Xiaolin being able to obtain very limited information. Military satellites are managed by the Information Department under the Military and Political Department. Dongfang Chen has not been able to find out where the control center is located. Therefore, it is impossible to implement monitoring. However, letting go of the bearded man and the holy son named Ling Yu last time was really wise. Through this period of monitoring, he has continuously obtained several valuable pieces of information. First, from the conversation between Ling Yu and the bearded man, he learned of a person code-named Number and Editor. He also overheard from the bearded man that the modified human laboratory was located in Golden City, Gansu Province, which was very valuable information for him. Next is this time. He not only overheard that Yan Xiangping was in trouble, but also inferred that this number one was a high-level member of the council. Although it was speculated from the content of the conversation that this number one might be the speaker, this result was too unbelievable, and he was a little afraid to believe it. However, verifying this is too simple. As long as Yan Xiangping listens to this recording, the answer will naturally be revealed. He dialed Yan Xiangping's number. Xiao Chen, is there something you need calling me for? Yan Xiangping answered quickly, Commander Yan, there are some problems with the recent transaction accounts. The numbers are quite different. If it's convenient, I hope you can come over and verify them in person. Dongfang Chen said. Dongfang Chen cannot mention Yan Xiangping's dismissal, because this matter is confidential. If he brings it up, it is equivalent to admitting that he is monitoring the council. Moreover, the matter of number one is even more important. Yan Xiangping's call is definitely being monitored, and this matter cannot be mentioned on the phone either. Fang Fang has been in charge of this matter all along. Just contact her, Yan Xiangping said. If it were a small amount, I wouldn't have called you. How about this, you and Yan Fang Fang both come over. If the accounting problems are not resolved, I'm afraid the subsequent supply will be suspended. Dongfang Chen said. Yan Xiangping did not reply immediately. The phone was silent for almost 30 seconds. Dongfang Chen was not in a hurry either, letting him think it over. I have some things here, and it's temporarily inconvenient for me to go over, Yan Xiangping finally said. Commander Yan, you're not deliberately trying to avoid me, are you? If you do that, I'll start to suspect that you're trying to scam me. Dongfang Chen's words were not very polite. What are you talking about? Yan Xiangping was also unhappy. He suspected that Dongfang Chen knew about his dismissal and wanted to find an excuse to terminate cooperation with the Southwest Military Region. Since Commander Yan has nothing to hide, I don't think there's anything difficult about coming over to check the accounts. If Commander Yan insists on not coming, then I think there's no need for us to continue cooperating. Dongfang Chen finished speaking and hung up the phone. Bang! Yan Xiangping slammed the table in anger. Threat. This is a blatant threat. Yan Xiangping never expected that he had just been dismissed, and the first one to kick him when he was down was actually Dongfang Chen. Chapter 219. Heading to Binjian Base. Dad, you wanted to see me. Yan Fangfang quickly arrived at the office. She already knew about Yan Xiangping's dismissal, so she didn't care about the occasion and directly called Yan Xiangping. Dad, Fangfang, have there been any problems with the transactions with Dongfang Chen recently? Yan Xiangping asked. No, everything is normal, Yan Fangfang replied. Dongfang Chen just called and said there were problems with his accounts, and the amount missing is quite large, Yan Xiangping said with a bitter taste. Impossible. I have carefully checked every transaction, and each time it was a cash for goods exchange. How could there be a problem? Yan Fangfang said. Just then, Yan Fangfang's digital pupils received a message from Dongfang Chen. Think of a way to bring your dad over. It's urgent, highly confidential, and don't make it public. Yan Fangfang understood immediately after seeing the message. Oh. Dad, I suddenly remembered. There was indeed a transaction that didn't match the accounts. I checked for a long time, but couldn't find the problem. Yan Fangfang suddenly added. Yan Xiangping had already concluded that Dongfang Chen was planning to distance himself after hearing Yan Fangfang's definitive answer. Yan Fangfang's addition made Yan Xiangping frown again. You child, you're always so careless. I'll ask you again, are there any problems with the accounts? Yan Xiangping asked. There's indeed a problem, Yan Fangfang replied with certainty this time. Then let's go, we'll go over together, Yan Xiangping said. 7 p.m. Yan Xiangping and Yan Fangfang arrived at the Binjian base. Commander Yan, it's not easy to get you to come. Dongfang Chen stepped forward to greet him. HMPH. Yan Xiangping ignored him. He was still angry. Dongfang Chen wasn't annoyed and led the two to the office. Commander Yan, let me play something for you first. Dongfang Chen said. Yan Fangfang was one of their own, so there was no need to avoid her. How many times have I told you? Try not to call. Holy son, things have gotten big. I had no choice but to call you. Yan Xiangping stood up abruptly after hearing just the beginning. His hands were clenched tightly, and his expression was unusually serious. Yan Fangfang also sensed that something big was happening. It mentioned the Ark base, which she didn't know what it was. But it mentioned her father and several military region commanders, indicating how widespread this matter was. Fangfang, go out for a while, Yan Zhangping said. Only 19 counselors knew about the Mosing Ark base. Therefore, Yan Fangfang should avoid it. Oh, Yan Fangfang responded and turned to leave. Where did this recording come from? Yan Zhangping frowned and asked. I used some resources and successfully eavesdropped on a holy son of the red-clothed sect. Dongfang Chen explained roughly. He couldn't say that the zombie siege event some time ago, and the conflict between the red-clothed sect and the Red Lotus sect in Mazhou City, were related to him. Yan Zhangping nodded without asking for details. Commander Yan, this matter is of great importance. I apologize for having to invite you over in this way, Dongfang Chen explained. You did the right thing. I misunderstood you, Yan Zhangping acknowledged. The reason I invited you here is to verify whether the person on the phone is the speaker. Dongfang Chen asked cautiously. You don't need to worry about this matter. It involves military secrets, and I can't give you any explanations. Yan Zhangping said. Then is the Mosing Ark base mentioned on the phone also a secret? Dongfang Chen asked. That's right, Yan Zhangping replied. Dongfang Chen nodded. Although Yan Zhangping didn't answer, he had actually answered. From Yan Zhangping's attitude, it could be seen that the person on the phone was undoubtedly the speaker. Commander Yan truly has the courage to risk so much for patrolling the Yangtze River line, Dongfang Chen said. The speaker on the phone had already told the Holy Son the course of events, so there would be no problem for Dongfang Chen to bring up this topic again. Your intelligence is timely and has cleared up many of my doubts. However, there are many things inside that you don't understand, and I can't say much. This matter is of great importance, and I hope you can keep it completely confidential, Yan Zhangping said without accepting Dongfang Chen's flattery, but instead admonished him if it were an ordinary person, he would inevitably detain them. But this person was Dongfang Chen. He couldn't do that, nor did he have the strength to do so. He could only take a step back and remind him, Commander Yan, I have received your reminder. These things are unimportant to me. As long as no one provokes me, then naturally, you're good, I'm good, and everyone's good. Dongfang Chen didn't buy that. Although Yan Zhangping was somewhat displeased with Dongfang Chen's wayward answer, he didn't say anything more. For anything next, let Fangfang relay it. Your channels are safer, Yan Zhangping said. Yan Zhangping knew their communication equipment was very advanced, and many people in the southwest military region had used it. Okay, Dongfang Chen replied. After a brief meeting, Yan Zhangping and Yan Fangfang quickly returned to the southwest military region. At this critical moment, it was not appropriate for him to leave the southwest military region. Chapter 220. Ants begin to cross the river. July 19, 2055, morning. After 2 days of advancing, the autonomous ants had pushed north to the Yangtze River. Although Yan Zhangping had been dismissed, the Special Forces Regiment directly under the military region headquarters was stationed on the north side of the Changjing Bridge before the new military region commander took office, and there were no problems. The 4 military regions had been patrolling the Yangtze River coast according to the established plan. Yan Fangfang had previously ordered that the Changjing Bridge be destroyed. At this moment, the autonomous ant colony had been wandering along the Yangtze River, still looking for a way to cross the river. Looking from the north bank, the Yangtze River coast had changed from the original lush green to a dark mass. No one took it lightly because Yan Fangfang had ordered that the ants had the ability to cross the river, and everyone must be on guard. Look, the ants are going into the water, someone shouted. The officer picked up his binoculars and looked towards the south bank of the river. Sure enough, a group of ants carried thick trees and threw them into the river. This is too smart. It was the first time they had seen ants using the buoyancy of wood to cross the river. Although they were extremely unwilling to believe it, the fact was happening. After a piece of wood was immersed in the water, a group of ants surrounded the wood to form a huge ant colony. They constantly changed their formation, pushing the wood forward. The flowing river water did not disperse them. It was amazing. Before long, the river surface began to splash with a lot of water, and the ant colony suddenly became chaotic. What's going on? Everyone was puzzled. There's something in the water. A sharp-eyed person quickly noticed the strangeness. Splash! Suddenly, a huge splash of water splashed on the river surface, and a blood basin mouthful of sharp teeth quickly opened and then closed in the blink of an eye. A group of ants crossing the river collectively disappeared from the river surface. Everyone was stunned. What kind of monster is that? That mouth is at least 20 meters wide. Right, Oh my god, the river is so dangerous. Everyone had a deep fear of the river. Fortunately, they had never been in the water, otherwise, wouldn't they be eaten in minutes? The ants on the opposite bank seemed to have not noticed the attack in the water at all, and still swarmed into the water in groups. Fire, the officer shouted. The soldiers guarding the north bank of the river began to strafe the river. The hit ants kept falling into the water, and the thick liquid flowing out due to the injury mixed with the river water, attracting more fish. The ants rushing in the front continued to die, which greatly slowed down the speed of the ants crossing the river. Good. Great. The officer looked at the bloody scene in the river and shouted excitedly. He didn't expect that the terrifying creatures in the river would provide such great assistance to this defensive battle. Regiment Commander Zhang, I've brought some people over, let them join the battle. The person who came was Mayor Su. Mayor Su, this is a war, not a child's play. Don't come here to make trouble at this time, the officer advised. Regiment Commander Zhang, don't worry, the people I brought are all from the Jingmen City public security system, and they have all been trained, Mayor Su said. That's not okay either. There is a shortage of ammunition now, and there is no extra weapon equipment. You can't help much, the officer said. We have our own weapons and equipment, Mayor Su said. What? The officer felt that he had heard wrong. If you don't believe me, go and take a look, Mayor Su said confidently. Go. The officer didn't say anything more. This, combat uniforms? Laser guns. The officer was very surprised. The Special Forces Regiment directly under the Southwest Military Region was one of the first troops to come into contact with this equipment, and they still had some knowledge. That's right. Hutuang Chamber of Commerce just sent it over, a total of 1,000 sets, Mayor Su said with a smile. Good. Great. They will be under your command, and you will follow me to facilitate unified management. The officer was overjoyed with combat uniforms to protect them. What else is there to hesitate about? Just do it. Okay, Mayor Su readily agreed. This is Jingmen City's business, and it is reasonable to contribute. Chirp chirp chirp. In an instant, red light kept flashing on the river surface. The destructive power of the Type 2 laser gun has been greatly improved, and one shot can destroy an ant, and it has high precision and no recoil. Most importantly, there is no ammunition consumption, except that the energy bar needs to be charged after it is used up. Compared with traditional guns, the advantages are already quite obvious. Good gun. The officer was also envious. With the addition of these 1,000 people, the ant offensive has been completely suppressed in half an hour, with the help of the fish in the water. Countless ants died. The dismembered ant carcasses were all over the river, constantly washing downstream. Most of the bullets brought had been consumed, but the ants on the opposite side were still countless. Soon, the bombers sent by the Southwest Military Region had arrived in Jingmen City, and a large number of bombs were dropped from the air, and the ground on the opposite bank had been turned over in the bombing. The number of ants has been greatly reduced, and they have finally stopped attacking. We held it. The soldiers and security guards of the resettlement camp stood on the shore, raised their guns, and shouted happily. But what they didn't know was that in the underground ant nest on the opposite bank, a winged ant had hatched from the egg. Then came the second, the third. Chapter 221. Charging Cabinet. By the time reinforcements from other military regions arrived, the battle was already over. In this defensive battle, the advantages demonstrated by the laser guns were unanimously recognized by the military and the resettlement camp. As for the energy rods required for the laser guns, Hutuang Chamber of Commerce installed several large charging cabinets in Beisha resettlement camp. As long as the energy rods that need to be charged are inserted into them, they will be fully charged quickly. There are counters next to the cabinets that automatically count the number of charges. The resettlement camp only needs to pay monthly according to the number of charges. This completely dispels everyone's energy concerns. The installation of the cabinets takes time, which is also the reason for the slight delay in the arrival of Hutuang Chamber of Commerce's laser guns. How do I use this? An officer came to Beisha resettlement camp to visit the charging cabinet. This is the induction area. You need to swipe your card, Mayor Su said, handing the officer a membership card. The officer took the card and tapped it on the induction area. Ding. Clatter. Please insert the energy rod to be charged. With a prompt sound, a square cabinet grid 10 centimeters wide pop open. Just like the lockers for storing items in a supermarket, the officer took an energy rod that needed to be charged from a team member next to him and inserted it. The caliber was just right, and there was a groove in one direction, so the direction would never be reversed. Energy rod inserted. Please close the cabinet door. A prompt sounded from the cabinet. The officer closed the cabinet door. Clatter. Please take the new energy rod. The cabinet prompted. Another cabinet door opened in response, and a new energy rod popped out of it. The energy rod only popped out about 2 centimeters, so it would not fall to the ground. The officer took out the energy rod, which showed 100% energy. Please close the cabinet door. The voice continued to prompt the officer. Close the cabinet door again as prompted. The operation of replacing the energy rod was completed. The officer nodded. With this cabinet, each soldier can be issued several more energy rods, which can completely meet the needs of combat missions. How long does it take to fully charge an energy rod? The officer asked. I haven't counted it, but according to Huaituang Chamber of Commerce, it won't take more than 10 minutes to fully charge a single energy rod. Mayor Su replied. 10 minutes, the officer exclaimed. 10 minutes would be no problem at all as long as a few soldiers are arranged to continuously replace the energy rods. The continuous output of the combat troops can be realized. Where does the energy of the cabinet come from? Does it rely on electricity? The officer continued to ask. I don't know. We don't have electricity in our resettlement camp. The people from Huaituang Chamber of Commerce said that we don't need to worry about the energy of the cabinet, just pay in time according to the number of charges. Mayor Su shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. The officer continued to nod. He was already very moved and planned to report to Yan Xiangping after returning, striving to equip the military region as well. Laser guns are definitely a good alternative to traditional submachine guns. It's really a bit dramatic that the ordinary security guards in the resettlement camp actually have more advanced equipment than them. Who can they reason with? Northwest Military Region, Councillor Shentu. The Motsang Arc Base project cannot be stopped. It concerns the future of the entire China. I hope you don't act on impulse, the speaker said on the phone. Your Excellency Speaker, I have already ordered people to speed up the progress. The 300,000 soldiers of the Central Military Region, plus the 60,000 from the 3 military regions, plus experts from all walks of life, the total number of people is less than 400,000. According to the current speed of screening more than 1,000 people a day, I estimate that it should be completed in about a year. Shentu's Hang Heo replied with a straight face. This was obviously arguing. A year to screen, by then everything would be too late. Commander Shentu, aren't you afraid that I will remove you from your post? The speaker was very unhappy. Whatever. Shentu's Hang Heo ignored him and hung up the phone. Of course, he was not afraid of being dismissed, because in that case, the entire Northwest region might be completely chaotic. He cannot actively mention Yan Xiangping's matter, otherwise his action would be a blatant threat to the parliament. And the nature would change. The speaker can only take the initiative to bring up the topic. As for why Shentu's Hang Heo dared to do this, in addition to his stubbornness, there are of course special historical reasons. The Shenta family could be said to be a separatist force entrenched in the Northwest in the past. During the founding of China, through the unremitting efforts of the older generation, peaceful unification was achieved. Another reason is that Shentu's Hang Heo has already discovered the speaker's abnormality. When he went to Kyoto to meet the speaker, he mentioned the word 10 years ago. What exactly happened 10 years ago? 10 years ago was just Shentu's Hang Heo saying it casually, and there was no corresponding event. Shentu's Hang Heo asked the speaker, do you still remember what happened 10 years ago? The speaker's answer was, of course I remember. This is very problematic. He continued to ask, what did you do then? The speaker refused to answer, so he had already concluded at that time, there is something wrong with the speaker. Then why did he want to test him? That was because at the last parliamentary meeting, Shentu's Hang Heo noticed a strange thing. Originally, the speaker had always used his left hand to tap the gavel, but last time he accidentally saw that the gavel was placed on the right. Chapter 222, Yan Xiangping is reinstated. Originally, he hadn't paid much attention to this matter. However, the speaker's attitude regarding the Yangtze River Patrol, and Yan Xiangping's sudden dismissal, made him naturally connect these events. That's why he personally went to Kyoto, wanting to confirm things on the spot. This bluff, as expected, revealed a problem. Therefore, this lockdown of the Motsang Arc Base, besides being a bargaining chip for negotiations, also had an important reason, to stir things up. Binjiang Underground Base. After Yan Xiangping left, Dongfang Chen contacted Ling Xianhe at that time, in order to allow Zhang Yuanqi to return to Merlin and preside over the establishment of the mercenary guild. Dongfang Chen specifically ordered Ling Xianhe to go to Kyoto, replacing Zhang Yuanqi's plan to infiltrate Kyoto. Brother Ling, has anything special happened in Kyoto recently? Dongfang Chen asked. Boss, the upper echelons of Kyoto have been very active recently. From the information gathered so far, it seems there is a vacancy in the high-level positions, and many people are racking their brains trying to get it. Ling Xianhe said, it's normal for people to be tempted by the dismissal of Yan Xiangping, commander of the Southwest Military Region, Dongfang Chen said. Yan Zhangping was dismissed. Ling Zhanhe was very surprised. That's right, it happened yesterday, Dongfang Chen replied. No wonder, Ling Zhanhe said knowingly. I need you to investigate something, Dongfang Chen said. Tell me, boss. I will send a few helpers to assist you later, as well as some special equipment. The task will be sent to you privately via email, and you must complete it as quickly as possible, Dongfang Chen said. Don't worry, boss, I guarantee to complete the task, Ling Zhanhe said. Southwest Military Region Command, Brother Shentu, I thought you wouldn't call. Yan Zhangping was somewhat surprised to receive a call from Shentu's Hanghao. He knew that Shentu's Hanghao was not the type of person to offer comforting words. Old Yan, I'm calling to tell you something. Thereupon, Shentu's Hanghao explained as deduction. I already know about this, Yan Zhangping said. You know, Shentu's Hanghao was incredulous. That's right. However, the situation is currently unclear, and I suggest we don't make any rash moves, Yan Zhangping suggested. That's what I think too. I have already locked down the entire Masan Arc base, and we'll see what his next move is, Shentu's Hanghao said. I was originally going to contact you about this, but I couldn't think of a suitable reason. I didn't expect you to do it first. This is a wise move, as it can minimize the risk, Yan Zhangping said. There are still 20,000 soldiers from your Southwest Military Region in the Arc base. I hope you can issue an order to cooperate with my actions, Shentu's Hanghao said. Okay, I'll also notify the Northeast Military Region and the Southeast Military Region. These 60,000 people will be temporarily under your command, Yan Zhangping said. Then that's it. After Shentu's Hanghao hung up the phone, Yan Zhangping contacted the Southeast Military Region and the Northeast Military Region, explaining the situation. Subsequently, the three military regions each issued orders after obtaining authorization. Shentu's Hanghao transferred these 60,000 people out of the base and issued them firearms to implement a wider range of lockdown in the Masan area. Although he said that Redcoat Society spies had appeared in the Arc base, it was just a random excuse. In reality, he did not conduct a search of the base. All the soldiers and scientists were just temporarily resting. Everyone just felt a little strange, but no one expressed dissatisfaction, and their emotions were very calm. Around 20:30 in the evening, the speaker's phone call came again. Counselor Shentu, tell me your conditions. What conditions? Shentu's Hanghao asked. The conditions for the base to resume operations. I don't know what you're talking about. The lockdown of the base is only for security considerations. I have no intention of coercing the parliament. Shentu's Hanghao certainly couldn't admit it. Yan Zhangping can be restored to all his positions. The other end of the phone didn't beat around the bush. The safety of the Arc base is paramount, and a complete investigation will take some time, Shentu's Hanghao said, but he had already revealed a hint of room for negotiation. The Yangtze River patrol issue can be put on the agenda for discussion. The other end of the phone retreated another step. I think if the other three military regions can cooperate, the speed of the investigation may be much faster. Shentu's Hanghao also took a step back. Then please do it as soon as possible. I plan to convene a council meeting the day after tomorrow, and I hope that you can finish the investigation before the meeting. After saying that, the other end hung up the phone immediately afterward. The military and political department received the order to reinstate Yan Zhangping. Liu Fiang shook his head with a smile upon seeing this dramatic scene. The matter of Yan Zhangping's dismissal ended in such a muddled way. The commotion in Kyoto quickly subsided after the announcement of this notice. Morning of July 20th. 2055 AD, Kyoto Parliament Building. With the joint efforts of the four military regions, the council meeting was finally successfully convened. Chapter 223, the proposal to patrol the Yangtze River, was passed. Today's council meeting will primarily focus on Councillor Yan's proposal regarding patrols along the Yangtze River. Councillor Yan, please provide us with the specifics of this matter, the speaker announced. Esteemed council members, 4 days ago, Mayor Su of Jingmen City in Hansong Province reported a large infestation of mutated ants at the Changjing resettlement area, located 5 kilometers south of the Yangtze River in Jingmen City. These ants are enormous and extremely aggressive. They devour all vegetation in their path. I dispatched personnel to take some photos of the site. Please take a look, Yan Zhangping said, rising and walking to the large screen. The large screen began displaying slides, showing both wide shots and close-ups of the giant toothed ants. The councillors were visibly shaken by the photos. The day before yesterday, these ants attempted to cross the Yangtze River and spread towards the Jiangbei region. Fortunately, We had set up a blockade on the north bank beforehand, and the ants' attempt to cross the river was unsuccessful. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this. It was certainly good that they hadn't crossed the Yangtze River, but consider this, if there's one group, there will be 2, 3. I don't believe this ant infestation is an isolated incident. Take a look at this, Jens Hangping said, switching slides again. These are mutated cockroaches. Also 2 days ago, in Yujing City within the southeast military region, a large number of mutated cockroaches attempted to cross the Yujing-Yangtze River Bridge. Fortunately, the patrolling soldiers discovered them in time, otherwise the consequences would have been unimaginable. From these 2 defensive campaigns, I have drawn several conclusions. First, the regions south of the Yangtze River have a warm and humid climate, which is very suitable for insect breeding. It is now possible that various types of mutated animals have emerged. Second, these animals are characterized primarily by rapid reproduction and gregarious behavior. Third, these animals are not afraid of sunlight and can be active 24 hours a day. Esteemed council members, the Yangtze River will serve as a natural barrier to prevent these mutated animals from spreading. Once they've reached this barrier, the northern regions will no longer be safe. Therefore, I propose that long-term patrols be conducted along the Yangtze River to protect the lives and property of the people, Jens Hangping concluded, stating his views. Now that you are all aware of the situation, let's hear your opinions, the speaker said. I agree. Once these insects cross the Yangtze River, we will have no defense. This means that no place will be safe. This will cause incalculable damage to the resettlement areas, and the consequences will be extremely severe, said Hu Kengying, director of the Department of Health. I disagree. It was previously decided that each resettlement area is responsible for its own security, and the council will no longer intervene. In that case, why should we concern ourselves with these matters now, said Chen Guangxun, director of the Department of Finance. I believe you are shifting the concept. The reason for supporting resettlement area autonomy is because the council has limited resources and cannot guarantee the safety of every resettlement area. At the same time, decentralizing power will help unleash the subjective initiative of each resettlement area and help improve their survival rate. But this does not mean that our decision is to shirk responsibility or even completely disregard the safety of the people. These are completely different concepts. I agree to patrol the Yangtze River to maintain the security and stability of the northern regions to the greatest extent possible, said Wu Shengrong, director of the Department of Land Administration. I agree. Okay, let's proceed with a vote. In the end, the council passed Jens Hangping's proposal to patrol the Yangtze River with 16 votes in favor. With the proposal passed, the 4 major military regions would be able to obtain support from the Department of Military Affairs for gasoline and ammunition. The most troublesome problem for everyone was finally resolved. From this day on, the Yangtze River entered a phase of routine patrols, inside a secluded courtyard in Kyoto City. No armor have I, but I share my coat with thee, hoping to live unknown, in peaceful serenity. Hello, I am He Wang. Hello, I am Dai Zheng. Under the commander's orders, I have brought you some manpower and equipment. It's all here, Dai Zheng said. Okay. Thank you, Ling Zhenhe said. You're welcome. To ensure safety, I will leave a transport plane on the outskirts of Kyoto City. You can use it at any time if needed, Dai Zheng said. Okay, Ling Zhenhe replied. He had already read the mission email. It was of great importance, so caution was necessary. This place has been converted into a safe house. It is absolutely secure inside. If there is any danger, you can come here to hide, Dai Zheng continued to explain. Understood, Ling Zhenhe continued to nod. Alright. The handover is complete. I'll be leaving now. I wish you a successful mission. Dai Zheng extended his hand. Thank you. Ling Zhenhe also extended his hand, and the two shook hands firmly. 7 days later, July 27, 2055, night, Kyoto, an abandoned villa. Who's there? Chirp chirp chirp. Bang. The door of a room was kicked open. 7 or 8 people in combat suits rushed into the room at the same time. More than a dozen people were guarding outside. How is it? Still breathing, but unconscious. That's good. Take him away. Let's go. One person carried the unconscious person lying on the bed in the room, and the others followed behind, providing cover for a quick escape to avoid leaving clues. The corpses outside were also transported away. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224. Beileji arrives at the Southwest Military Region. They dragged the body to the safe house and piled it up inside. Boss, we've succeeded, Ling Zhenhe reported through his digital eye. Have the special forces escort him to the Southwest Military Region immediately, and you hide as soon as possible, Dongfang Chen ordered. Understood. After receiving the order, the special forces members immediately rushed to the airfield in the suburbs. After arranging everything, Ling Zhenhe also quickly left the safe house. It wasn't until the person coming to relieve the shift arrived at the villa the next morning that they discovered the anomaly. The entire Kyoto was then placed under martial law. Holy sun, something terrible has happened. What happened again? Ling Yu answered the phone. Frowning, making this call was a great risk. He had repeatedly instructed that this phone should not be used unless it was extremely important. But the person on the other end actually called again. Number 1 has been hijacked. What? Ling Yu directly exploded. It's absolutely true. The person who came to relieve the shift today reported that the entire villa was empty, and all of our people are gone. Ling Yu frowned. This matter was serious. Your identity may have been exposed. Who have you seen in the past few days? Think carefully, Ling Yu asked. Shen Tuzhenghao. What did Shen Tuzhenghao talk to you about? Recall it carefully, don't leave out a single word. Ling Yu asked. The person on the other end repeated the content of the conversation at that time. 10 years ago? Ling Yu frowned. That's right, he asked me if I remembered, and I was worried about exposing my identity, so I vaguely answered that I did. There's probably a trap in this. He asked that to test you, Ling Yu concluded. Then what do we do now? If there are no accidents, Shen Tuzhenghao may have done this. Immediately seal off Kyoto. Don't let a single fly escape. At the same time, send people to carefully search every street. We must find him, Ling Yu said. What if they have already left Kyoto? I will arrange for other people to be responsible for the Northwest Military Region. You just need to handle the affairs in Kyoto, Ling Yu said. Okay. At this time, the anti-gravity aircraft carrying the special forces had successfully arrived at the Southwest Military Region. Dongfang Chen had already informed Yan Zhangping of this action in advance. At this moment, Yan Zhangping was anxiously waiting at the airfield of the Southwest Military Region headquarters. After the plane arrived, the soldiers stood in 2 rows, back to back. The so-called back-to-back formation means that the soldiers in the formation face outwards with their backs to the inside. The purpose of doing this is mainly for security considerations, meaning that this mission has a particularly high security level. The special forces members who came down from the plane were carrying a stretcher. No one spoke, and the group quickly rushed towards the ambulance not far away. Military Region Special Care Ward. 2 military doctors were doing a detailed examination. After a while, they came out of the ward. How is it? Yan Zhangping saw the military doctors coming out and hurried forward to ask. Of course, the 2 military doctors knew who was lying on the hospital bed, and they were nervously sweating on their foreheads. Commander, this is the same situation as when you were attacked before. He should have inhaled a large amount of neurotoxic drugs, resulting in severe coma. However, judging from the symptoms, it should have been a long time, the doctor said euphemistically. Hallucinogens. Yan Zhangping understood and looked at Zhang aside. Yan Zhangping was cured by the medicine given by Dongfang Chen last time he inhaled hallucinogens. Commander Yan, this is what Mr. Dongfang asked me to hand over to you. Zhang stepped forward and handed over a small box. He said, Mr. Dongfang, the commander's title, which is not suitable to be called in front of the military now. Your boss is really considerate. Yan Zhangping took the box with a smile. The boss said that the things inside are worth 10,000 crystal cores. Zhang said with a smile. He didn't say he wanted money. Nor did he say he didn't want money. Ha ha ha. This kid. You go back and tell him that the crystal cores will not be less. Yan Zhangping laughed loudly. The big stone in his heart fell to the ground, and he felt a lot more comfortable. Mr. Dongfang also said that this medicine has a great demand for energy in the body, so you must cooperate with some nutrient solution when taking the medicine. Zhang said, then I'll have to trouble the 2 doctors. Yan Zhangping handed the box to the military doctor. Yes, the military doctor gave a military salute, took the box, and re-entered the ward. Another 3 days. July 30th, 2055 AD. Brother Bailey, how are you feeling today? Yan Zhangping shouted loudly as he entered the ward. I feel very good, even better than before. Bailey Ji walked back and forth in the ward, doing stretching exercises. That's good. Come, I brought you some breakfast. Let's eat something together. Yan Hangping said, putting the lunchbox in his hand on the dining table. Old Yan, has there been any major commotion in Kyoto during this time? Bailey G asked as he ate. The entire Kyoto is still under martial law. They should be looking for you, Yan Hangping replied. This time, thanks to you, otherwise the entire Huaguo would face a huge risk. Bailey G said, I'm ashamed to say it, Shen Tuzheng how discovered this matter first. I was in Kyoto to see you at the time, and I was in a fit of anger, so I ignored these details, Yan Hangping sighed. Chapter 225 Visiting the Southwest Military Region. It's not your fault, no one could have imagined such an unbelievable thing, Bailey G said. The Northwest Military Region isn't peaceful either. A large number of cult members are rampaging around the Gan and Lan areas. If we hadn't transferred 60,000 soldiers from the 3 military regions in advance to maintain local security, they probably would have turned the place upside down, Yan Hangping said. They're probably all trying to find my whereabouts, Bailey G said with a smile. That's right, so what are you planning to do next? Yan Hangping asked. Kyoto can't be in chaos, and the Mosin Arc base can't have any accidents either. The best way is to complete the silent transition, Bailey G said. Yan Hangping nodded in agreement. The simplest way, of course, would be to directly rush into the parliament building and take down that fake. But if we do that, things will inevitably become known to everyone. This is a slap in the face to the parliament, and a slap in the face to the entire Hua country. Moreover, the entire Kyoto, the entire central military region, will be thrown into chaos. Who is real? Who is fake? Who should we believe? In short, as a cult member, he is not qualified to judge what is real or fake. My body is almost recovered. In the next 2 days, you accompany me to Kyoto. This matter must be resolved as soon as possible, Bailey G said. Okay. Now that the other party is already a frightened bird, it won't be easy to see him. In order to avoid conflicts and escalating the situation, I suggest making a detailed plan before we set off, Yan Hangping said. That's right. After eating breakfast, Yan Hangping took Bailey G to visit the military camp to avoid trouble. Bailey G wore a military uniform, a mask, and a military cap. Probably everyone in Hua country recognizes his face. Old Yan, what have you done to make the Southwest military region like this? Bailey G asked, expressing his dissatisfaction. Don't rush to conclusions. I'm worried that if you knew the reason, you'd be eager to learn from me, Yan Hangping said with a smile. Cut the crap. This? Me, learn from you? Bailey G said dismissively. What should a military region look like? Every place should be neatly arranged, but look at the headquarters of this Southwest military region. Activity rooms are built everywhere, densely packed and macy. This doesn't look like a military region at all. It looks more like a farmer's market. Don't believe me, huh? Yan Hangping asked with a smile. Old Yan, it's just the two of us here now. Listen to an old brother's advice, and quickly rectify it. Later, I will send people from the military and political department to inspect it. If it's still like this by then, I'll really dismiss you as commander, Bailey G said. Come with me. Yan Hangping was unconvinced. Seeing that Yan Hangping didn't listen, Bailey G shook his head but still followed the two. Soon arrived at a warehouse. There was a squad of soldiers on guard at the warehouse door. This situation was rare. To have so many people guarding in the military region meant that the things inside were very important. Bailey G couldn't help but frown. Salute, the soldier shouted. Open the door, Yan Hangping ordered. Yes. Two soldiers saluted again and ran over to open the door. The two walked in. What is this? Bailey G asked, seeing several large boxes in the warehouse. Open it and see, Yan Hangping said with a mysterious smile. Seeing him acting mysteriously, Bailey G walked to a box and opened it directly. What came into his eyes was a box full of blue crystals. Like a box of glittering gems, emitting a dazzling blue light. This is crystal cores, Bailey G asked. That's right. Yan Hangping looked at him and replied with a smile. Bailey G didn't pay attention to his expression and walked to another box and opened it. Still a box full of crystal cores. He opened another box, and it was the same. These are all crystal cores, Bailey G asked. That's right. Yan Hangping continued to reply with a smile. Bailey G had been in a coma for half a year, so he didn't have a very good idea of the use of crystal cores. In his impression, crystal cores were taken from the heads of zombies. As for what they were used for, he didn't know. Old Yan, so many crystal cores, how many zombies did you have to hunt? Bailey G said in shock. Yan Hangping had been raising mice since the beginning of July, and he had just harvested a batch a few days ago. Only tens of thousands of crystal cores, not many. Even so, Li Ji was surprised his impression was still stuck in December. At that time, the cost of obtaining a crystal core was very high because the sacrifice rate of soldiers was too high. This is only how many? Only tens of thousands, Yan Zhangping said with a smile. Tens of thousands? Only. Li Ji couldn't believe his ears. Yan Zhangping knew that his understanding was still stuck a few months ago, so he introduced what had happened in the past few months and the use of crystal cores. Old Yan, then why did you show me these? Li Ji asked, glaring. Didn't you say that my military region doesn't look like one? Shouldn't I report it to you? Yan Zhangping said with a smile. What do you mean? Li Ji didn't understand. These crystal cores are all produced from those activity rooms outside. Yan Zhangping said. What? Produced? This thing can be produced? Li Ji asked in disbelief. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.